cultivation world, I begin by getting struck by lightning. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126 Refining Equipment. Su Fan came to the master's cave, and the old man was stunned when he saw him coming. "Why are you here? Haven't you just been here a few days?" Hearing the master's words, Su Fan chuckled. "Master, I am learning to refine weapons with senior brother Zhuang now." The old man frowned and said with a stern face, "You are a rare good seedling in the physical way. Why are you learning to refine weapons? Don't you know the principle of biting off more than you can chew?" Seeing that the master was a little dissatisfied, he hurriedly explained. "Master, I promise not to delay my practice of the physical way. You know me. I have been studying the art of weapons for the past few months and have not delayed my practice." The old man glared at him and said, "Huh? I don't care what you want to learn, but if it delays your practice of the physical way, I will break your legs." Su Fan chuckled and said, "Don't worry, master, I know what I'm doing." After he finished speaking, he scratched his head and said, "Master, I'm still short of an art of weapons." The old man got angry when he heard it, and said angrily, "Did Zhuang tell you that I have an art of weapons? This kid has learned bad things and knows it's better to buy yours. Let me see how I deal with him." "Master, it has nothing to do with my senior brother. I just want you to help me refine an art of weapons." The old man was so angry that he laughed and said, "You are so bold. Do you know what materials are needed to refine an art of weapons? Aren't you a master of art of weapons?" The old man sighed and said, "I am not a master of refining equipment. I am only good in a place like Liangshao where the cultivation resources are poor. You will know when you reach the upper sect in the future." He thought about it and took out an ancient vessel tripod from his ring. Bang! The vessel tripod, which is more than 1 meter high, fell heavily on the ground with a loud noise. The vessel tripod has 3 legs and a round belly, decorated with 2 ears. The whole body exudes the color of ancient Tibetan scripture paper, full of ancient charm, and faintly emits a magnificent light. The body of the tripod is covered with exquisite patterns, like mysterious symbols, Taoist talismans, and obscure lines. Every place where the knife falls is like a magical work, with precise arrangement, which is amazing. There are also a few birds with 5-colored flame feathers and chicken beaks and swallow jaws. The furnace cover is carved with some flowing clouds of various shapes. This is an ancient tripod, named the Red Phoenix Tripod. In ancient times, the earth fire was not used for refining instruments, because rare birds and beasts were everywhere. The instrument refiner would seal the spirit of a fire-type monster in the instrument tripod, and refine the instrument through the flame spit out by the monster spirit. The intensity of the flame is simply incomparable to the earth fire. The old man said this with a face full of emotion, and reached out to touch the Red Phoenix Tripod. The spirit of the Red Phoenix sealed in this ancient tripod has dissipated. Now the Red Phoenix has long been extinct, and this ancient tripod has become what it is now. After listening to the master's words, Su Fan walked over, stretched out his hands to hold the tripod ears on both sides of the instrument tripod, and tried to lift the instrument tripod. In the end, he couldn't lift it up, which also surprised Su Fan. He struggled with his arms, and finally lifted the instrument tripod with force. This instrument tripod must weigh at least several thousand pounds. No wonder Zhuang Rui said he couldn't use it. Let alone controlling objects with his spirit, he couldn't even lift it. At that time, how would he put the instrument tripod on the eye of the earth fire? It is estimated that only physical cultivators can lift this cauldron. And one has to cultivate the physical way to perfection before he can lift it. The old man touched the cauldron and sighed. It's a pity that the materials of this cauldron are gone. Many of them are no longer available. But no matter how good the materials are, what's the use? Where can I find the essence of the Red Phoenix? After he said that, he shook his head and turned to look at Su Fan. "I can't use this cauldron anymore. If you want it, take it. The best quality is barely enough, but the top quality is more than enough." Su Fan was very excited after hearing this. The top quality cauldron was already very awesome. The old man was annoyed by him and waved his hand to drive him out of the cave. Su Fan put the Red Phoenix cauldron into the storage ring and drove the Yinfeng boat back to Yinluo Peak. Finally, the cauldron problem was solved. The next step is to follow his senior brother and start practicing the way of the cauldron. When Su Fan arrived at a weapon refining hall, Zhuang Rui saw him and walked over. "How is it? Did the old man give you a hard time?" Su Fan chuckled and said, "I got it. I spent a lot of time with the old man." Zhuang Rui laughed. "Let's go. I'll take you to the fiery peak, so you can expand your horizons first." Zhuang Rui led Su Fan and drove the magic weapon to the fiery peak deep in the mountain gate. There are very good underground fire resources below the fiery peak. In the underground fire rooms on the mountain, the fire eyes never go out all year round. Zhuang Rui took Su Fan to a stone room. There were more than a dozen fire eyes in the tripod pit inside. The deeper you go, the more intense the underground fire becomes. The key to the weapon is to control the fire. Too intense underground fire is not conducive to controlling the temperature, but rather consumes materials. Too much is as bad as too little, and it will be futile. The stone room is paved with fire velvet stones, which is closed and stuffy. In the middle, 3 black sparkling stones surround a fire eye. It is bottomless at a glance, and there is a faint flickering of fire. Zhuang Rui sat cross-legged in front of the fire eye, urging his spiritual energy to draw the earth fire out of the fire eye. Silver light appeared on the surface of the sparkling stone, and the talismans were connected in a loop to form a small fire-gathering array. The earth fire gradually stabilized, and the color changed from red to light blue. It sprayed more than a foot high, and the heat wave hit us. Refining a weapon is not an easy task. The environment in the earth fire room is very bad. It is smoky and hot every day. Sometimes, in order to refine a magic weapon, you even have to stay in the earth fire room for several days. Zhuang Rui took out a half-meter-high cauldron from the storage bag and placed it on the fire eye. Then he put several refining materials into the cauldron and began to melt them slowly. The next step is to use the earth fire to refine these raw materials. This process takes a very long time. After more than an hour of roasting by the earth fire, the several refining materials in the cauldron have shown signs of melting, and drops of impurities have dripped out of them, and soon turned into ashes under the high temperature of the earth fire. It was not until midnight that the refining materials were completely melted by the fire, and the impurities in them were finally refined and turned into several transparent liquid masses of different colors. Zhuang Rui's forehead was already covered with tiny beads of sweat, and his spiritual consciousness was also seriously consumed, but he could not stop to rest for a moment, and he had to shape the magic weapon immediately. That is to fuse liquid materials of various properties together, not only in shape, but also in an inseparable and integrated form, and the spiritual power attributes must also be completely integrated. Zhuang Rui has been learning to make instruments with his master for some years. The following engraving of the talisman array, controlling the fire to gather the spirit, and quenching the fire, the whole process is very skillful, the technique is light, and it can be opened and closed freely and at will. The study of making instruments is very particular. When refining instruments, special techniques and spells must be used to guide. The techniques and spells of different magic instruments are different. This process depends entirely on the feel and experience, and there can be no mistakes. Chapter 127 Late Stage of Key Training. Zhuang Rui worked in the underground fire room of Lihao Peak for 2 days before he finished refining a magic weapon customized by a sect disciple. Su Fan watched the entire refining process and was very moved. Compared with the weapon refiner, the talisman master is so happy. It is not easy to refine a weapon. Not to mention staying in the underground fire room every day, it often takes several days to refine a magic weapon. This is still the most common middle and lower grade magic weapon. If you refine a top grade or even top grade magic weapon, it is normal to stay in the underground fire room for 10 days or half a month. Of course, the status of the weapon refiner is not comparable to that of the talisman master. Whether it is a sect or a cultivator family, as long as you are a good weapon refiner, they will try their best to win you over. As for the talisman master, there are a lot of them among the casual cultivators, not to mention the families and sects, which are really not worth paying attention to. Many cultivators regard making talismans as a livelihood to maintain their cultivation. As long as they have some wealth, they will not make money by selling talismans. Although the Yinluo sect also has a talisman hall, the talisman masters there are part-time. The sect will issue them in the form of tasks, and the talisman masters exchange good deeds by making talismans. The weapon refining hall is different. The sect will spend a lot of resources and carefully cultivate them from childhood. Every weapon refiner is a treasure of the sect and a strategic resource. Looking at the magic weapon that he had just successfully refined in his hand, Zhuang Rui looked at it with a smile. It seems that he is very satisfied with this magic weapon. Junior brother, when I refine magic weapons in the future, you can come and see it when you have time. Su Fan certainly wanted it. He could follow the weapon refiner every day to observe and have someone explain it in person. How many detours will he take in the future? If he didn't join the sect, if he didn't have a master, how could he have such an opportunity? Senior brother, can I find some simple magic weapons to practice with? After hearing Su Fan's words, Zhuang Rui laughed. Okay, I'm here, you can use the earth fire room as you like, and I can also guide you. You can use the leftovers from me for ordinary materials, but you have to pay for the more precious materials yourself. Of course, Su Fan had no problem with that. That was the benefit of having a master. Learning the Dao of instruments was a difficult thing for many people, but it was not a big deal for his fellow disciples. Brother, can you only come to the earth fire room to refine instruments? If you don't lack spirit stones, you can also go to the treasure hall and buy a set of fire formations. Su Fan felt that this was good, because he had to rely on the game panel to gain experience, and it would be inconvenient if he was in the earth fire room. Su Fan left the fiery peak and drove the Yinfeng boat back to the cave. 2 months ago, my sister went back to the master's place for retreat. For a cultivator with the qualifications of my sister, and with the support of the master, there was basically no problem in building the foundation. If it weren't for her master, who let her settle down for a few more years, she might have already built a foundation. This was the helplessness of cultivators. Qualifications determined everything. The foundation building stage is like a mountain. Some people can cross it with one step, while others cannot cross it even after decades of hard training. Because of his senior sister's retreat, Su Fan felt a little lost during this period. He came to the training room, sat cross-legged on the futon, and began to practice Hununguang. These days, Su Fan has been looking forward to it. Because the game panel shows that he is about to break through to the late stage of key training, but he doesn't know when. After another 9 turns of gongxing, a message finally popped up in front of him. Hununguang +1. Su Fan breathed a sigh of relief and finally broke through. From now on, my buddy is also a cultivator in the late stage of key training, one step closer to foundation building. The sea of Qi and Danshan has obviously become larger, at least double than before, and the spiritual energy has increased by more than 2 times. The spiritual consciousness has also increased a lot, and the sea of consciousness between the eyebrows is wider. Su Fan's eyes condensed, and he completely let go of his spiritual consciousness, extending it to more than 100 strokes before stopping. With this kind of spiritual consciousness strength, there is no opponent below the foundation building. Su Fan opened the game panel and saw that various data had been updated. Name, Su Fan, lifespan, 40-99 years old, age, key training level 7. 1/100, Kung Fu, 1. Hununguang, first level. 67 out of 100, 2. Horizontal training body forging skill, second level. 115/203. Heavenly Demon Saint body skill, second level. 200/204. Phantom Demon God forging skill, third level. 35 out of 800, spells, 1. Turtle breathing skill, great success. 19/402. Smell skill, great success. 35 out of 403. Hidden breath skill, forming momentum. 125/1604. Zingai boxing, forming momentum. 1356, 1605. Void spirit skill, great success. 134 out of 406. Corpse control skill, minor success. 78/207. Object control skill, great success. 356/408. Ghost control skill, minor success. 158/209. Shocking soul stab, door. 315/410. Slow spell, great success. 354/411. Soul destroy and curse, great completion. 269/412. Weakening curse, great completion. 315/413. 9 Nether demon shadow, great completion. 95/414. Netherworld ghost contract, entry level. 35/115. 9 extreme serial slashes, subtlety. 1248, 1616. Soul Controlling Corpse Technique, Great Completion. 199/400, Skills, Immortal Sect Talismans, omitted, 1. Bone Talisman, Great Completion. 124/402. Soul Binding Talisman, Great Completion. 156/403. Bloodthirsty Talisman, Great Completion. 198/400, Magical Powers, 1. Thunder Eyes, Established. 256, 1602. Thunder Ghost Steps, Established. 318/1603. Purifying Red Lotus, Great Completion. 95 out of 404. Yang Shagod Fire Cover, Great Completion. 126/400. First of all, his lifespan increased by 7 years. Although Su Fan had some mental preparation, he was still very excited. Until this moment, he had a more intuitive feeling about cultivating longevity. His lifespan increased by 7 years at once. And in the future, when he cultivates to the perfection of key training, his lifespan will increase to 120 years. If he breaks through to the foundation building, his lifespan will be 300 years, and when the foundation building is perfect, his lifespan will increase to more than 400 years. The golden elixir is amazing. When cultivated to perfection, his lifespan can reach an astonishing 700 years. This is longevity. In addition to the increase in lifespan, his realm is already the 7th level of key training. Next, the cultivation of the late stage of key training can be said to be a step-by-step. Even with the help of the game panel, plus taking pills every day, and being in the 2nd level spiritual vein of Yinluo sect, it will take 5 years to cultivate to the 8th level of key training. No matter what, continue to practice hard. His qualifications are so poor, and he can reach such a fast speed of cultivation now. To his surprise, the Phantom Demon God Forging technique had reached the 3rd level without him noticing. Practicing this set of soul refining techniques, the growth of spiritual consciousness can be said to be better than nothing, but it can temper the soul and make the spiritual consciousness become more and more condensed. Other spells and talismans have also grown to a certain extent, but the magnitude is not large. During this period, he has been training the control of his body and spent a lot of time studying the Dao of instruments. The time spent on practicing spells, talismans and magical powers is indeed a bit too little. The 3 spells and 2 new magical powers have just been cultivated to the state of great success, which is indeed a bit slow. With the control of the body and the practice of great success, the study of the Dao of instruments has also been almost completed. Next, Su Fan decided to spend more time to brush up various spells and magical powers as much as possible. Thanks to the monthly ticket from the boss of Nightmare, thank you for your encouragement and support, thank you for a little distraction, the world we live in is fake. Book friend 20220222305436999, book friend 20191213125637393, book friend 202063019590798 Bits and Pieces of the World, Tongayu 05, Kuroro, Nan Lao Lin, Yuban Jikian, Potato 999, Yankee 7510, Spider Detective 30, Shaolei, Book Friend 161,128,222,045,156, Nu Shui Lan Xin, Jupiter 2, Jiu Yu Chunhui, and Clockwise, Don't Expect What Tomorrow Will Be Like, LGW 70, Book Friend 321, Salted Fish asks for a turnover, Lao Bu is deeply grateful for the recommendation votes from all the bosses, thank you all for your love and support. Chapter 128 It's better to forget each other. Zhuang Rui can receive 2 or 3 orders every month in the weapon refining hall, and Su Fan follows his senior brother to observe and learn from him. In his spare time, Su Fan will also put his own cauldron on the fire eye, and practice from smelting materials under the hands-on teaching of his senior brother. It took more than 2 months, and Su Fan used some scraps to successfully refine the first low-grade magic weapon Black Crow Cone. Although the Black Crow Cone refined by Su Fan is of average quality, it is still powerful. Not only that, the status of the game panel has also been updated, and the skill of refining has been added. Refining, beginner. 1/100 Su Fan breathed a sigh of relief. He finally got started in the way of weapons, and he can brush experience in the cave in the future. He went to the treasure hall of the sect and exchanged thousands of good deeds for a high-grade flame array. The effect is really good, but the cost is a bit high. If you want to achieve the effect of the underground fire room, you need nearly 100 spirit stones every day to maintain the fire. In fact, many market towns without underground fire resources also use this kind of flame array in weapon refining shops. Of course, only in an environment like yours, the Earth Fire Room, can you have the opportunity to refine a top-grade magic weapon. After finishing the Flame Talisman array, Su Fan returned to the weapon refining hall of Yinluo Peak. He found his senior brother Zhuang Rui and wanted to get more scraps to go back and brush up the experience of weapon refining skills. Zhuang Rui happened to have something to do, so he sent an outer disciple on duty to lead Su Fan to the back mountain of Yinluo Peak. There is a warehouse of the weapon refining hall here, which is full of scraps left over from refining and waste magic weapons, piled everywhere. In other words, the Yinluo sect is rich and powerful, and these things can be turned into treasures by taking them to the weapon refining shop in the market. Su Fan was not polite, and took a lot of scraps of various refining materials, enough for him to squander for a while. Back to the cave, Su Fan retreated again. In addition to practicing every day, he brushed up the experience points of refining. In fact, the study of weapon is definitely a very wasteful livelihood. Many weapon refiners have to spend a long time just in the entry stage. It is necessary to accumulate experience constantly. Without a few years of practice, it is impossible to become a qualified weapon refiner. But these problems are not a big deal for Su Fan. He kept refining the simplest low-grade magic weapon, which was the Black Crow Cone that he had a successful experience with once. With the help of the game panel, the experience points were brushed very quickly. The low-grade magic weapon Black Crow Cone is extremely simple to refine, and it only takes 2 hours to refine it. And the materials required are only the most common ones. Su Fan used the scraps from the weapon refining hall to meet the needs of refining. Every time he successfully refined a Black Crow Cone, the skill column of the weapon refining on the game panel would increase a little experience. And in this way, the experience of refining will continue to appear in his mind. In other words, as long as Su Fan refines 100 Black Crow Cones, he will break through the realm of minor success. Su Fan refines 2 Black Crow Cones every day. And in just over a month, he has brushed the weapon refining skills to the realm of minor success. Su Fan can be considered a qualified weapon refiner after his weapon refining skills have reached the minor success level. The most amazing thing is that after breaking through the minor success level, refining Black Crow Cone can still increase experience. It took Su Fan more than 3 months to break through to the major success level. Unfortunately, refining Black Crow Cone will not increase experience points. In the future, you have to grind slowly step by step to gain experience. But Su Fan is already very satisfied. Through the understanding and experience brought to him by the game panel, his weapon refining level has greatly increased. Of course, compared with his senior brother Zhuang Rui, there is still a lot of gap, and it will take a certain amount of time to accumulate and settle. Not only that, he also disposed of a large number of Black Crow Cone that he had refined in Kangjiu City. Although it can't sell for many spirit stones, it is enough to offset the spirit stone consumption of the Flame Talisman array. If his senior brother Zhuang Rui knew about Su Fan's speed in learning weapon refining, he would have to hit his head against the wall to death. It's really too bullying. Even with a careful teaching of his master and the strong support of the sect, it took Zhuang Rui several years to become an experienced weapon refiner. During this period, he spent a lot of time and energy to achieve today's achievements. Of course, even if the game panel broke through the great success realm, Su Fan would not let anyone know this secret. It's better to hide quietly. On this day, Su Fan had just successfully refined a Black Crow Cone in the cave, and the formation outside was touching. He put away the cauldron and the Flame Talisman formation, and then came to the outside of the formation, and saw Liu He rushing up. "Brother, I miss you so much." Su Fan pushed him away with disgust, ignored him, and turned to walk into the cave. Liu He followed behind him, still chattering. "Brother, you are too cruel. You didn't come to see me for so long." Su Fan came to the pond and brewed a pot of tea. "Are you healed?" Liu He hammered his chest and jumped a few times on the spot. "Brother, look, I've recovered a long time ago. It was my father who kept me from coming out. Now you know how powerful it is. Spend more time practicing in the future, and don't do those useless things anymore." After listening to Su Fan's words, Liu He nodded heavily. Don't worry, brother, I will practice well in the future. After being injured by Zutai this time, Liu He finally understood that if he didn't have strength, he would be nothing. Liu He sat next to the table, took off a storage bag from his waist, and handed it to Su Fan. This is what my father asked me to give it to you. He has always wanted to come here in person to thank you, but he has been busy. Su Fan smiled. He was busy for a long time. He must have been too embarrassed to come to see him. He took the storage bag, scanned it with his spiritual sense, and was stunned. Su Fan took out the things in the storage bag, a few cans of exquisitely packaged spiritual tea, a few bottles of extraordinary spiritual wine, and an ancient and elegant box. He opened a can of spiritual tea and smelled it. It was much better than the spiritual tea he had drunk before. Although the bottles of spirit wine were not as good as the 1000 spirit brew that senior sister brought from home, they were also real spirit wines and must be worth a lot of money. What shocked Su Fan the most was that there was a talisman in the box. Su Fan smiled bitterly. He really didn't know how to evaluate Liu Wen. The incident of the Zhang family must have spread throughout the sect. Liu Wen wanted to make up for his last time of treating him poorly. He was really willing to spend money to curry favor with the powerful. These things cost at least 100,000 spirit stones. Su Fan was not polite and put all these things into the storage ring. Not to mention the spirit wine and spirit tea, the talisman must be left. If this thing is used well, even if you encounter a cultivator in the foundation building stage, it can save your life once. Su Fan glanced at Liu He and found that this guy didn't care at all. In fact, it's good if people are heartless. Brother, have you heard? What's the matter? Senior sister successfully built her foundation a few days ago and is consolidating her realm. After hearing what Liu He said, Su Fan was stunned for a moment and couldn't help feeling a little emotional. Su Fan sighed. This woman is now a senior who has established his foundation. I guess she may not come here in the future. If she doesn't want to come, then don't come. It's better to forget each other in the rivers and lakes than to help each other. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129. Still such a jerk. The news of the elder sister's foundation building caused a stir in the inner sect. Not only that, after building the foundation, she has officially become an elite disciple of the Yinluo sect, but for Su Fan, this matter was not taken to heart at all. He just sighed for a short while, and then turned his head and forgot about it. Su Fan didn't want to invest too much energy in the study of the way of instruments. He tried to refine a magic weapon every month, which was enough. He would slowly grind it over a long period of time. There was no rush anyway. Next, Su Fan finally used all his energy on his own cultivation. Soon, he would go to the upper sect to participate in the trial. Since he learned about the cruelty of the upper sect from his elder sister, Su Fan didn't want to go. Just when he was about to turn down this opportunity, the master knew about it and asked him to go to the upper sect to gain experience, so as not to be a frog in the well in the future. Su Fan had no choice but to accept his fate. So during this period, Su Fan spent almost all his time on brushing a few spells and magical powers. Especially the two new magical powers, which consumed a lot of his energy. Although Su Fan had many cards, he could still sense something from the solemn tone of his master. The power of the 9 Nether Demon Palace was definitely not comparable to that of the Yinluo sect. Liangzhou and Yuangzhou were both on the edge of the western wasteland, and the area near the 10,000 miles demon abyss was the place with the richest resources for cultivating immortals in the western wasteland. The 4 most powerful demon sects in the western wasteland were all there. It was said that the disciples of the upper sect had been undergoing trials in the 10,000 miles demon abyss since they entered the sect. Whether in terms of cultivation or actual combat ability, they were much higher than the disciples of the lower sects. This also attracted Su Fan's attention. Although he was confident that he could walk sideways as a disciple of the Yinluo sect below the foundation building stage, it was not certain. When he reached the upper sect this morning, Su Fan came to the master's cave again and saw the old man standing outside the bamboo building. Seeing Su Fan coming, the old man nodded at him and stretched out a hand. Come, hold your hand. Every time the master tested him, he would hold his hand to judge his progress in cultivation. Su Fan hurried over and put his hand on his master's hand. Well, You have been lazy recently. Why is your progress not as fast as before? Su Fan chuckled and said, Master, why don't you say that my control over my physical body has improved? The old man glared at him and said mockingly, you are just getting started. You just touched the threshold of releasing your strength, and you are already cocky. Su Fan hurriedly shook his hand and said with a bitter face, Master, I have only practiced for less than a year. Humph. The old man snorted and took out a jade slip from his ring. This is a few physical secrets I collected. You can learn which one you think is useful. When he said this, he looked at Su Fan again. In a few months, you will go to the upper sect for trial. You must not embarrass our Yinluo sect. Su Fan took the jade slit and hurriedly bowed his hands. Yes, Master. The old man looked at Su Fan, sighed, smiled bitterly and shook his head. Alice. With your temper. I don't expect anything. When you see your fellow disciples in trouble, help them if you can. Although the old man said so, he didn't hold out much hope. He knew in his heart that this kid was cold-hearted. Except for a few close friends, he wouldn't even look at others even if they were dying. What could Su Fan say? He could only nod his head heavily. The life and death of others is none of my business. The old man waved his hand and said, get out of here. If the progress is still so slow next month, I will deal with you like this. Su Fan felt as if he had been pardoned. He turned around and left the master's cave. He didn't go back to the cave directly, but went to the weapon refining hall of Yinluo Peak and sat with his senior brother Zhuang Rui for a while. He brought him 2 cans of the spiritual tea that Liu Wen gave him last time. In the evening, Zhuang Rui refused to let him go no matter what, and dragged him to Kangjiu City for a meal. When Su Fan returned to the cave, it was already dark. He was a little tipsy today, humming a song from his past life, and staggered into the magic circle. Su Fan came to the hut in a daze, and was about to go into the house to sleep. Suddenly, he felt like there was someone over there in the pond. He shuddered and became much more sober. Su Fan's heart moved. Could it be? He hurried over and saw his senior sister sitting cross-legged on the stone slab beside the pond, drinking tea leisurely. Su Fan was so excited, he had never had sex with a foundation-building cultivator. Just when he was about to pounce on her, he suddenly found that the senior sister's temperament was very different from before, and she was looking at him expressionlessly. Su Fan was a little confused, and he smiled at the senior sister. When did you come? The senior sister laughed and said, why, don't you know how to call me senior? Su Fan got angry when he heard it, pretending to be cool. But he still bowed and said, I didn't know you were coming. I'm sorry for not welcoming you. Please forgive me. You haven't changed at all. You're still such a jerk. Su Fan took a deep breath. He didn't have any thoughts at all. I wonder what you are doing here late at night. Senior sister smiled faintly and said, nothing, I just want to sit here. Then please do as you please, I won't bother you anymore. Su Fan turned around and left. This woman has changed. I'd better stay away from her in the future. He had just taken a few steps when he heard senior sister shouting at him. Come back. Su Fan was holding back a rage in his heart, and he continued to walk towards the thatched cottage as if he didn't hear anything. He walked into the thatched cottage in 2 steps, and fell asleep as soon as he entered the house. He couldn't calm down for a long time. She has established her foundation, how could she still be interested in him, a little key training cultivator? Just when he was daydreaming, he saw his senior sister coming in from outside. She walked barefoot to Su Fan's side and sat cross-legged on the kang. Su Fan closed his eyes and pretended to be asleep. The senior sister chuckled and said, oh, I haven't seen you for a few months. Your temper has risen. After she finished speaking, she stretched out her foot and kicked Su Fan. Seeing that Su Fan did not respond, she stretched her foot to Su Fan's face again. Su Fan pushed the senior sister's feet away, then turned his back to her. The senior sister smiled, leaned over and crawled over, hugging Su Fan's back. I was just teasing you, but you took it seriously. Seeing that Su Fan still ignored him, the senior sister raised her legs and wrapped them around him. Okay, I was wrong. After she finished speaking, she pinched Su Fan's shoulders and put her face against Su Fan's back. She chuckled and said, Master, you are still so strong, I am almost dying of cravings. Su Fan sat up suddenly and pressed the senior sister to the ground. Foundation building is useless, I'll fuck you to death. Senior sister pretended to be weak and helpless, and said in a delicate voice, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I'll fuck you. Chapter 130. Are they more cruel than me? At noon the next day, the senior sister slowly opened her eyes. Hiss, just as she was about to sit up. I am a foundation building cultivator, but I was harmed by this bastard. This son of a bitch. The senior sister became more and more angry as she thought about it. She picked up her robe and put it on, then stood up with a grin. The senior sister wanted to go to the pond to wash. This bastard really abuses people. I didn't expect this guy to be able to discharge electricity. She felt so weak last night. The senior sister hurried out of the hut and saw Su Fan standing in front of a cauldron, using his spiritual power to drive the spiritual fire and roasting the huge cauldron. When did this bastard learn to refine weapons? Looking at his skillful techniques, he really has the demeanor of a refiner. Su Fan turned his head and laughed. Senior, get up. The senior sister rolled her eyes at him. At this time, she knew to call herself senior. This guy made her call him dad all night. She didn't feel anything at the time, but now she hates him so much that her teeth itch when she thinks about it. Humph. Senior sister snorted, ignored Su Fan, and turned to walk towards the pool. Su Fan smiled frivolously. Maybe it was because of the change in senior sister's status, and she had annoyed him last night. Su Fan used all his skills. The thought of himself holding the foundation building senior under him made Su Fan feel a strong desire to conquer. No. Seeing that senior sister got up, Su Fan quickly melted the refining materials in the cauldron and went to the kitchen to make lunch for senior sister. Senior sister was exhausted last night. He had to replenish her. A pot of drunken shrimp made with fresh river shrimp, which is senior sister's favorite, strengthens the glands, replenishes essence and replenishes deficiency. A pot of mutton and radish soup made with a tenderloin of brown-shelled argali is very nutritious and is a good product for nourishing the body. A dish of soft-shelled turtle caught from the lake, made into a pot of stewed soft-shelled turtle with yam and longan, with tender and non-greasy meat, rich nutrition, and sweet soup, which has the effects of nourishing yin, cooling blood, clearing heat, dispersing knots, and nourishing the kidney. A dish of loach trapped in the muddy ground by the lake, made into a pot of braised loach with sauce with a delicious taste, which has the effects of nourishing the middle and replenishing qi, clearing urine, detoxifying and astringing hemorrhoids, nourishing the kidney and producing essence. A dish of 10-in-1 soup made of chicken, duck, cuttlefish, goose, pork belly, pork ribs, and more than a dozen medicinal materials. The staple food is red date lotus seed porridge made of lotus seeds, red dates and glutinous rice, which nourishes the spleen and stomach, improves the essence and qi, strengthens intelligence, improves hearing and eyesight, and strengthens the spleen and stomach. Don't drink the wine. Give the senior sister a pot of milk tea made with spiritual tea, spiritual milk and spiritual honey. Su Fan brought 4 dishes and a soup to the floor table by the pond, which was full and looked quite appetizing. When the senior sister saw the table full of her favorite dishes, her mouth was almost watering. But she didn't want Su Fan to see it, so she turned her head and pretended not to care. Su Fan smiled. This woman, even if she had established her foundation, sometimes acted like a child. He served the senior sister a bowl of red dates and lotus seed porridge and placed it in front of her. Senior sister, drink some porridge first to warm your stomach. The senior sister rolled her eyes at him and ignored him deliberately. Su Fan brought the milk tea to the senior sister and looked at her with a smile. The senior sister finally couldn't stand the test of the food, so she took the bowl and drank it. The taste was soft and sweet, soft and delicious. Although this guy was a bastard, his cooking was getting better and better. The senior sister was also hungry, so she ate voraciously. After eating for a long time, she patted her stomach. I'm full. She wanted to stand up, but she felt sore all over. The senior sister glanced at Su Fan, who was eating beside her, and was so angry that she punched him hard. Su Fan did not dodge, and let the senior sister hide him, but she was so shocked that she kept rubbing her wrist. This guy's whole body was like a big piece of iron, and it was like hitting a steel plate when she hit him with her hands. The senior sister was so angry that she wanted to hide him again, but she was afraid of hurting her fist, so she raised her foot and kicked Su Fan hard. Su Fan still did not dodge, thinking that he would let the senior sister beat him up, as long as she calmed down. What he did last night was indeed a bit too much. Later, the senior sister kept kicking him, and Su Fan grabbed her ankle. The senior sister was so embarrassed that her face turned red, and she stretched out her hand to pinch Su Fan's arm and twisted it hard. What a pervert, he only knew how to grab her feet and play with them. Ah! Su Fan screamed when the senior sister twisted him, and rubbed the place where he had just been twisted with his hands. Senior sister, you are too cruel. Strangle you to death, you bastard. Su Fan sat over and leaned against the senior sister. Last night, senior sister's face suddenly turned red, and she pushed Su Fan hard with her hand. Get out of here, stay away from me. Su Fan let senior sister push him, but he didn't move, just lying there. The two stayed by the pond for an entire afternoon, doing nothing but sitting close to each other. In a few months, you will have to go to the upper sect for the trial, right? After hearing what senior sister said, Su Fan nodded. Well, soon. Senior sister turned her head and glanced at Su Fan, leaning her head on his shoulder. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have fought for that trial spot for you. Su Fan was stunned for a moment, and said, what's wrong? I heard that this time, more than a dozen disciples from the lower sect will go into the 10,000-mile demon abyss trial with the upper sect disciples. Su Fan smiled and said, so what? Master told me to go to the upper sect to broaden my horizons. Senior sister sat up straight and pushed Su Fan hard. How can they be the same? Do you know how cruel the disciples of Shangzong are? Su Fan was amused by her. He looked at his senior sister in a mean way. Are they more cruel than me? The senior sister's face turned red after Su Fan's words, and she pinched him hard. I'm telling you something serious. I know your strength. You can't suffer any loss anywhere. I'm afraid that you will offend the people of Shangzong and end up like your master. Su Fan looked at his senior sister with a smile, stretched out his hand and pulled her into his arms. Your husband is very powerful. If anyone dares to offend me, his whole family will die. The senior sister rolled her eyes and punched him hard in anger. I heard from my uncle that only 40% of the disciples of Shangzong can survive each trial. I'm afraid that by then, Su Fan was a little impatient and hit his senior sister on the butt. You are not afraid of shit, mountains of swords and seas of fire, thanks to Zixin Shushan, drink coke and beat Jace, Yu Yong 19, and Shu Iao 202010070941036007 for their monthly tickets. Thanks to several big guys for their encouragement and support. Thanks to SK0716, Shuiao 201910041111555328, Liang Liu, Kingning 2012, I am your sister, Cheyenne Ayadiandiandi, Shuiao 202010506010723373. The world we live in is fake, and clockwise, Tongayu 05, etc. All the big guys' recommendation votes. Lao Bu is deeply grateful. Thank you all for your love and support. Chapter 131 7 Tribulations Lightning Struck Wood. Senior sister and Su Fan were shamelessly together for 2 days, and then she quietly left. Now she is an elite disciple of Yinluo sect, and because of her status, she cannot help but have some concerns. A senior in the foundation building realm and an inner disciple of the 7th level of key training are together every day. What kind of thing is that? Su Fan is fine, but senior sister is different. She must consider the impact. Fortunately, there is no one living within a radius of dozens of miles around Su Fan's cave, and it is not easy to see other sect disciples. Su Fan really has no other thoughts about the relationship between the two. After all, the two have different backgrounds, and with his poor qualifications, how could senior sister's family agree to their relationship? Of course, Su Fan does not want to have any relationship with senior sister's family. Senior sister's thoughts are probably similar to Su Fan. The two people came together by accident, and it is actually quite good to be friends. Su Fan sat cross-legged on the futon in the practice room, took out the jade slip given to him by his master, put it on his forehead and read it carefully. The jade slip given to him by his master records the 3-door body Tao secret technique. They are bone cutting hand, inch strength and demon roar. The first 2 secret arts are close-range physical arts, which emphasize short form and fierce force. The attack is like an arrow piercing the heart, extremely brutal. Bone-cutting hand mainly relies on vibration to attack the opponent's bones. When practiced to perfection, a light flick with a finger can break the opponent's bones and tendons through the spiritual shield. The great power of the connected body can often paralyze the opponent with one blow, making him lose his combat effectiveness or even die on the spot. This secret art may seem insignificant, but it is actually quite awesome. Inch strength is a secret art of 9 kinds of strength, including blasting strength, vortex strength, slingshot strength, mountain splitting strength, stone-breaking strength, mixed primordial strength, thunder strength, dragon snake strength, and wave-like strength. Each kind of strength has its own characteristics and is very powerful. Of course, these two physical arts are not easy to practice, and it is difficult to get started. Su Fan's 9 Extremes Chain Slash and Zingai Fist are both large-scale physical arts. What he lacks is this kind of close-range short-range secret art. In the past, Su Fan relied on brute force in close combat. Now that he has these two secret arts, he will have more means of fighting in the future. The reason why the old man chose these two close-range short-range secret arts is to make up for the shortcomings of Su Fan's fighting style. As for the other secret art Demon Roar, it is a range-type shock secret art. The physical cultivator uses his own control over muscles, tendons and 5 internal organs to condense a stream of air in the abdominal cavity, and releases it instantly through the secret art to form a violent sound wave. When refining the realm of great success, even a huge rock can be shocked and turned into powder. Su Fan couldn't help but sigh that the old man gave these physical secret arts at the right time. In the past, when he fought with others, he would just swing his sword and chop, or rely on Zingai Fist, which was indeed a bit monotonous. In the following period of time, Su Fan spent all his time and energy on practicing the secret arts of the physical world and gaining experience points for spells. He almost never left his house and stayed in the cave every day to practice hard. The senior sister would occasionally sneak over and stay in Su Fan's cave for 2 days without shame, and then leave when she had enough. Of the 3 physical arts given by the master, Demon Roar is the fastest to get started, but this secret art is easy to learn but difficult to master. Of course, Su Fan relies on the game panel to gain experience points. As long as he is given time, his power will definitely be very strong in the future. Bone-cutting hand and inch strength are a bit difficult to get started, but it is not impossible to learn, it just takes more time and energy. Once the 2 secret arts are mastered, just use the game panel to gain experience points. The days of hard practice passed quickly, and 2 months passed in a blink of an eye. Su Fan originally wanted to retreat for a few months and not leave the cave, but Liu Wen sent him a message that there was an auction in Kangjiu City recently, which was said to be of very high quality. Su Fan thought about it and decided to go. Although he already had the tripod, he still wanted to go there to see if he could find what he needed recently. He had never been to an auction in his previous life, so he wanted to see the world. Su Fan came to the Yinluo Sect's Foreign Affairs Hall branch in Kangjiu City and found Liu Wen. When he met Liu Wen again, his attitude towards Su Fan was completely different. He was too respectful. "My dear nephew, this is Xing Dexun's VIP Jade card. With it, you can enter the private room and advance 10,000 yuan at Xing Dexun." Su Fan took the VIP Jade card and looked at it carefully. "Thank you, uncle, for your trouble." Liu Wen waved his hand and said, No, I'll let Liu He go with you." After he finished speaking, he said to Liu He next to him, "You must take good care of your brother, don't let anything go wrong." Liu He rolled his eyes. He couldn't stand it anymore. That was his eldest brother. "Dad, are you really like this?" Su Fan said goodbye to Liu Wen, and then followed Liu He to Xing Dexun. At this time, the seats in Xing Dexun's hall were already 70% to 80% full, and fewer people entered the hall. Su Fan and Liu He were led into a private room by a pretty female cultivator with their VIP Jade cards. After waiting for a while, there was a sudden wave of movement in the darkness behind the high platform. The cultivators in the hall were now refreshed and stood up at the same time. Then a middle-aged cultivator with a kind face came out. The middle-aged cultivator stood on the high platform and bowed to the cultivators below. "I am Hong Fei. I will host the auction this time. If I am negligent, please don't blame me, fellow Taoists." Su Fan secretly looked at Hong Fei. This person's cultivation level was actually a foundation building cultivator. The participants in this auction were all foundation building and key refining cultivators. Hong Fei was enough to suppress the scene, and no one dared to be presumptuous. The rules of the auction are already known to all fellow Taoists. I will not elaborate on them. Let's start the auction, then. Precious treasures were auctioned off like water. Under Hong Fei's calm guidance, the atmosphere at the auction became more and more heated, and the bidding sounded one after another, and those treasures were sold at high prices one after another. Things auctioned at auctions are often overpriced. There is no way, things are rare and valuable, and things that can be easily bought will not appear at auctions. More than a dozen items were auctioned in succession, none of which Su Fan Gang was interested in, and he was not in a hurry, waiting patiently for the next item. The next item is the 7 Tribulation Lightning Wood. The reserve price is 7,000 spirit stones. After hearing Hong Fei's words, Su Fan suddenly became energetic. Old Ji once gave you a purple sky thunder sword art, but he has not learned it yet, and he is just short of a thunder flying sword. The 9 Tribulation Lightning Wood is a rare treasure of heaven and earth. Plant spirits need to experience 9 heavenly tribulations before they can transform into human form. This piece of lightning wood has experienced 7 heavenly tribulations, which is already a rare thunder-type refining material. At this time, someone in the audience had already made an offer, and in a short while, it had been reported to be 15,000 spirit stones. Soon after, the monks in the private room also began to join in, and the price quickly soared to 23,000 spirit stones. At this price, fewer people began to bid. At this time, Su Fan made a move and directly bought the 7 Tribulations lightning-struck wood for 26,000 spirit stones. Chapter 132 Thunder Sword. After getting the 7 Tribulations lightning wood, Su Fan had no intention of looking at the next lot. He wanted to run to the master's cave immediately and ask the old man to help him refine a lightning flying sword. Although the old man usually had a bad face when he saw him, although he had seen through it, the old man was a person with a hard mouth and a soft heart. Every time Su Fan asked him, he never refused. Su Fan drove the Yinfeng boat to the master's cave and stood respectfully outside the main building. "Master, the disciple wants to see." "Come in." Seeing Su Fan, the old man was not used to his faults at all, and scolded him. "You don't practice well, why do you come to me every day?" Su Fan was speechless. "When did I come to you every day?" But he didn't dare to talk back, and took out the 7 Tribulations lightning wood from the ring. "Master, take a look at this." The old man took it impatiently, looked at it carefully, and was stunned. "Lightning wood, several heavenly tribulations, 7 tribulations. I bought it at the auction in Kangjiu City. How much did it cost?" 26,000 lower spirits. The old man shook his head with emotion, and picked up the lightning wood to look at it again. "Not bad quality, you picked up a bargain. There are not many thunder cultivators in our demon sect. If this thing is in the immortal sect, it will cost at least 100,000 lower spirits." Su Fan was shocked to hear that this thing is actually worth 100,000 lower spirits. The old man chuckled and said, "Show me this thing." "What do you want to do?" "Master, I want to ask you to help me refine a flying sword." "Flying sword? What do you want a physical cultivator like you to do?" Su Fan hesitated for a moment, but still told him about the sword tactics that Lao Yi taught him. "I was wondering why there is a shadow of sword cultivation in your swordsmanship. It turns out there is such an opportunity." After he finished speaking, he looked at Su Fan and asked in confusion, "Are you from Ganzhou?" "When I was a casual cultivator, I stayed in Yongzhou for a while." "How do you know those sword madmen?" "Okay, I agree, but this is my first time refining a lightning flying sword. If something goes wrong, it's not my fault, master, just keep refining it." "How dare I blame you?" "Well, go ahead, I have to think about it carefully." Su Fan left the master's cave and finally breathed a sigh of relief. The lightning flying sword was finally settled. He returned to the cave, sat cross-legged on the futon, took out the jade slip of purple sky thunder sword art and put it on his forehead. After a long while, he put down the jade slip. It seems that learning this sword art is not so easy. Before practicing the sword art, not only do you need a lightning flying sword, you also need to nourish the sword with thunder. According to the sword art, the flying sword should be placed in the thunder pool to nourish it, so that the lightning flying sword can absorb enough thunder and lightning before practicing the sword art. Where can he find the thunder pool? Thunder pools are not everywhere. They need natural places to attract thunder, and they are formed naturally after years of sedimentation. Even many sects with the inheritance of thunder-related laws may not have a thunder pool. Suddenly, Su Fan's eyes lit up. "I wonder if the thunder in the Dao seed in my body can replace the effect of the thunder pool. Forget it, I don't want to think about it. It's useless to think about it now, so I'd better wait until the master finishes refining it." A month later, Su Fan came to the master's cave again. The old man was already standing outside the bamboo building, waiting for him. When he saw Su Fan coming, he took out a palm-length black flying sword from the ring. "The sword has been refined. Take a look." Although the old man said so, there was a hint of pride in his eyes. Su Fan knew that this matter was stable, and the flying sword should be successfully refined. He took the flying sword from the master's hand, looked at it carefully, and was very excited. Top-grade flying sword. The old man stroked the goatee on his chin with a smile, his face full of pride. Look at your useless look, it's just a flying sword, you can only refine it. Okay, Su Fan thought, forget it. Your old man's proud beard is almost standing up. After accepting the test from his master, he couldn't wait to return to the cave. Sitting cross-legged on the futon, he took out the flying sword from the ring and looked at it lovingly. The small sword was only palm length, black as ink, and flashing with a simple and dim light. Let's call it Thunder Sword. Su Fan began to sacrifice the flying sword according to the method in the sword formula and imprinted his spiritual consciousness. After sacrificing the flying sword, Su Fan could clearly feel a wisp of his spiritual consciousness in the flying sword. He took a deep breath. Whether it would work or not depends on this one. Su Fan's eyes condensed, and the Tao seed in his body began to rotate. At this moment, countless purple electric currents overflowed from the Tao seed in his body, and kept flowing in Su Fan's body. Swoosh! Suddenly, the flying sword turned into a thin stream of light and sank into his heart. Su Fan was completely unprepared, and felt a numbness in his chest, as if something had entered his body. With a hum, he instantly fell into a state of unconsciousness. Su Fan quickly focused his eyes and instantly regained his clarity. With a sweep of his spiritual sense, he saw that the flying sword was floating in the Tao seed, surrounded by countless restless purple electric currents and scorching anode ground evil. Su Fan breathed a sigh of relief. The Tao seed really replaced the effect of the thunder pool as he thought. It can also be said that the Tao seed has the characteristics of the thunder pool. Let the thunder sword slowly nourish in the Tao seed. The longer the nourishment time, the higher the level of the flying sword in the future. Su Fan's mind moved. If he received more heavenly thunders, would the quality of the purple thunder in the Tao seed be improved? Thinking of this, Su Fan's mind moved. Otherwise, just try. A few days later, Su Fan sat on a mountain outside the Mountain Gate Formation, looking up at the cloudy sky. I am destined to be struck by lightning, Su Fan sighed and began to practice the first level of Demon Sacred Body Art. After more than 10 minutes, Su Fan was struck by lightning and became stupid. Although the second level has been completed, his body is no longer the same as it used to be. Even his skin was not broken after being struck by the sky thunder. But he still suffered the same amount of pain. It was too painful. Not to mention, the effect is really good. The purple thunder in the Tao seed is obviously much stronger. Then let's continue. Su Fan doesn't care anymore. Come on, let the thunder and lightning come more violently. A few days later, Su Fan returned to the cave. He was almost insane from being struck by lightning these days. But the quality of the purple thunder in the Tao seed has been greatly improved, and it has evolved from light purple to dark purple. And there is still great potential to continue to improve the quality of thunder. It's just that the sky is clear and the sky thunder can't be attracted. In addition, Su Fan is almost stupid from being struck by lightning, so he has to rest for a few days. However, after a few days, Su Fan feels that his consciousness seems to be a little stronger. Although his body had not improved much, the impurities and poison in his body had been completely purged. Su Fan's body was now free of impurities and as pure as glass. Chapter 133. Is this masochism? In early spring, everything revives and is full of vitality. After a spring rain, the fresh air permeates the fields, and from a distance, it looks like a perfect picture. Su Fan climbed up from the top of a mountain with a grin on his face, and he couldn't help but sigh. Even though he was in the late stage of key training, he still couldn't escape the fate of being struck by lightning. In the past few months, Su Fan would come to the outside of the Mountain Gate Formation every once in a while to draw the thunder into his body. I don't know why, but now if he doesn't come once a month, Su Fan will feel uncomfortable all over. Is this considered a masochistic tendency? Su Fan's eyes condensed, and his consciousness scanned the Tao seed. The thunder in the Tao seed has turned purple and black, slowly rotating in the Tao seed, containing the power to destroy the world. The pitch-black thunder sword quietly floated in the Tao seed. As Su Fan thought, a black shadow whistled out from his chest and kept rotating around him. He stretched out his hand and pointed, and the thunder sword suddenly left and headed straight for a cliff in the distance. The speed was incredibly fast, and it pierced into the mountain wall in the blink of an eye. Boom! With a flash of lightning, A large hole with a diameter of several meters was knocked out of the cliff in the distance, and countless broken stones were scattered. Su Fan waved his hand, and a black shadow instantly rushed out of the smoke and dust, and returned to his side in an instant. After several months of nurturing, coupled with a substantial improvement of the quality of thunder in the Dao seed, the Thunder Sword has begun to show its power. The biggest feature is speed. It goes away suddenly and returns carelessly, coming and going within hundreds of meters like wind, like lightning. But the time for nurturing is still short, and the power is relatively lacking. It still needs to continue to be nurtured in the Dao seed. But it is not unusable. In certain environments, it is still good for sneak attacks. It can also be regarded as a good trump card. Su Fan took out the Yinfeng bolt from the ring, and then drove the magic weapon to fly to the mountain gate. Next month, I will go to the upper sect to participate in the trial. I have to replenish some supplies anyway, so as not to rush into the secret realm. The current Yinfeng bolt is a little weak in his eyes. It is okay for normal travel, but it is a little slow when escaping. It is time to buy a flying magic weapon. Nothing else, just for escaping. It is said that the environment in the secret realm is extremely bad. The small secret realm of the sect is completely different. Magic beasts and evil demons are everywhere, and danger is everywhere. Therefore, talismans, elixirs, magic weapons and other supplies should be prepared as much as possible. Su Fan first came to Kangjiu City and strolled around the shops in the city. First, he found a shop selling talismans and bought a large number of talismans, all of which were auxiliary talismans that he could not draw. He also replenished daily necessities such as spiritual charcoal, spiritual food materials, spiritual rice and noodles, strong liquor, dry goods and seasonings. Anyway, he has a storage ring, and he can fit as many things as possible. After all, this trip to the upper sect will take at least more than a year, including the round trip. Su Fan is so greedy. He will starve if there are not enough supplies. After leaving Kangjiu City, Su Fan returned to the mountain gate and came to the treasure hall. He exchanged 5 second-level protective jade talismans with good deeds, but did not exchange the attack jade talismans. In his opinion, the attack jade talismans were a bit useless and far less useful than the protective jade talismans. He also had to prepare more auxiliary elixirs. The 10,000 miles demon abyss was a place without spirits, so elixirs that could restore spiritual energy were very important. Now Su Fan was not short of good deeds, so he chose the best jade returning pill, each with 15 good deeds, and he exchanged 10 bottles in one go. At this price, even the inner disciples were reluctant to exchange. Not only that, he even exchanged a bottle of Moluozime pill with 20,000 good deeds. For Su Fan, with these two kinds of elixirs, he might be able to save his life at a critical moment. Anything that can save his life must be exchanged no matter how expensive it is. In addition, he also picked the best of all kinds of auxiliary elixirs, and replenished a lot of them at once. The environment in the secret realm is extremely harsh, and it takes a lot of supplies to try to practice in it for half a year. In addition, Su Fan also changed to 6 Yin Hidden Array, which is a small hidden array. Of course, no matter what array it is expensive. The price of 30,000 good deeds is painful even for Su Fan. There are cheaper ones, but the effects of those low-priced hidden arrays are not a little bit worse. Anyway, it's all good deeds. Why choose a bad array to save money? If you die, what's the use of having more money? Su Fan's principle is to either not buy or buy the best performance. After replenishing the supplies, Su Fan came to the weapon refining hall again. He came to Zhuang Rui's room and found that his senior brother was chatting with a female cultivator. The two chatted happily, and the female cultivator would cover her mouth and laugh from time to time. Su Fan hurriedly retreated quietly after seeing this. He didn't want to be a light bulb. Junior brother, why are you leaving now? After hearing what his senior brother Zhuang Rui said, Su Fan had to walk in with a smile. The female cultivator saw Su Fan, nodded at him, as a greeting, and then said goodbye to Zhuang Rui and left. Brother, I came at the wrong time. Zhuang Rui reached out and punched him, and said embarrassedly, what nonsense are you talking about? That's the junior sister from the refining hall. Su Fan chuckled. He smelled it as soon as he entered the room. The whole room was filled with the smell of adultery. This is the future sister-in-law. Zhuang Rui was quite an adult, but he actually blushed. No, it's too early. Su Fan laughed and said, brother, in my opinion, don't dilly-dally, find a chance to make it a done deal. Zhuang Rui's eyes widened immediately, looking at Su Fan in disbelief. Why are you like this? Xiao is not that kind of person. Su Fan almost laughed out loud. Brother is still young? The junior sister just now, her eyes were almost dripping with tears, and she was obviously a girl in estrus. Zhuang Rui was afraid that Su Fan would continue to talk nonsense, so he quickly changed the subject. I have finished refining your magic weapon for you, and I was just about to find you. Su Fan suddenly became excited. During this period, he went to Kangjiu City to participate in several auctions and bought some precious refining materials. He entrusted his senior brother Zhuang Rui to refine several protective magic weapons for him. It's done, let me see it quickly. Zhuang Rui glared at him, then took out 2 wooden boxes from the storage bag and handed them to Su Fan. I'm lucky this time. Both magic weapons are top grade. I am worthy of your trust. Su Fan quickly opened a wooden box and saw a black turtle shell inside. It was only the size of a palm. The texture on the back of the shell was connected one by one, like fish scales. The interweaving of the lines seemed to be full of indescribable and inexplicable legal principles. The lines seemed deep and shallow, looming. At first glance, the texture was very simple and clear, but after a closer look, it felt mysterious. This is the 9-yin mysterious turtle shield. The defensive power is not bad. I wonder if it will catch my junior brother's eye. Chapter 134 No way. Looking at the 9-yin mysterious turtle shield in the box, Su Fan was very satisfied. Brother, your craftsmanship in refining equipment is really good. Zhuang Rui waved his hand and said modestly, it's all because of your good materials. The shell of the dragon scale demon turtle is not easy to find. I am just the icing on the cake. Su Fan laughed and opened another box. Inside was a pale white skull, which was crystal white, like pure transparent crystal. It was spotless and had no flaws. This was also a precious refining material that Su Fan had auctioned in Kangjiu City. It was called Jade Bone Skull. It was the skull of a dead monk in the Foundation Establishment realm, and was refined using a secret method. Zhuang Rui looked at the skull in the box, and a smug look appeared on his face. Junior brother, in order to refine this jade skeleton, I stayed up for nearly 10 nights in the earth fire room. Fortunately, I succeeded in my mission and finally succeeded. Su Fan immediately bowed to his senior brother Zhuang Rui. Senior brother, I am grateful for your kindness. I will say nothing, these 2 protective magic tools are both top grade. This time, in the 100,000-mile demon abyss, I will not only face monsters and evil demons, but also fight against the ferocious disciples of the upper sect. It is really not good to be without protective magic tools. Not only that, Su Fan is also preparing to purchase a few more medium-grade protective magic tools in case of emergency. Su Fan put the 2 top-grade protective magic tools into the ring, and then took out 2 bottles of spiritual wine given to him by Liu Wen. Senior brother, I will not give you good deeds. Please accept these 2 bottles of spiritual wine. Zhuang Rui has helped him a lot. Not only did he bring him into the path of weapon, but he also taught him how to refine weapons. This is the grace of preaching. Zhuang Rui was stunned when he received the 2 bottles of spirit wine from Su Fan. He was also a connoisseur of goods. These 2 bottles of spirit wine were not simple at first glance, and they were worth a lot of spirit stones. Zhuang Rui quickly refused and said, Junior brother, I can't take this. You are going to the sect trial. I don't have anything to give you. I can only make 2 magic tools for you. It's considered as a contribution. How can I accept your things? Su Fan held Zhuang Rui down and said seriously, Senior brother, you look down on me. Zhuang Rui was made to laugh and cry by Su Fan, so he had to take the 2 bottles of spirit wine. Okay, I will take these 2 bottles of spirit wine. Then I will refine 2 more protective magic tools for you. But I don't have very good materials, and the refined ones can only be medium grade at most. You can't refuse this time. Your wine is not an ordinary spirit wine. Otherwise, I will feel guilty if I take it. Su Fan laughed and said, Okay, thank you for your hard work, senior brother. After leaving the weapon refining hall, Su Fan returned to the cave. He sat cross-legged on the futon in the practice room. He took out 2 top-grade magic weapons and began to practice them one by one, trying to familiarize himself with them as quickly as possible. He might not have time to prepare when he arrived at the upper sect. After practicing the 2 magic weapons, Su Fan used them one by one. As expected, they were top-grade magic weapons for protection, and the effect was really good. Even if it was a top-grade attack magic weapon, it could withstand several attacks. Every magic weapon for protection was very important. At a critical moment, it was a life, and no matter how many, it was not too much. Moreover, in the extremely harsh environment of the 10,000 miles demon abyss, battles must be very frequent. Magic weapons for protection were consumables, and one more meant one more guarantee of survival. After practicing the two magic weapons for a while, Su Fan put them into the ring. He sat on the futon, closed his eyes, and thought about his preparations for this trial. After thinking for a while, he did not find anything missing, so he was relieved. Now Su Fan's biggest trump card is the talisman that Liu Wen gave him. This thing is equivalent to the power of a half-giant and cultivator. Moreover, each talisman can be used 3 times. When you reach the 10,000 miles demon abyss, you will have the power to fight back even if you encounter a demon beast or evil demon at the foundation building level. Even if you have a talisman in your hand, Su Fan will not be careless. The disciples of the upper sect who went to the trial together should have no shortage of second-level J talismans and talismans. After all, it is the 9 nether demon palace of the 4 great demon sects in the western wilderness. Whether it is cultivation resources or combat power, the disciples under the sect are not comparable to the disciples of the Yinluo sect. In addition to this talisman, there are 4 top-grade attack magic weapons: Deadbone Viper Whip, Thunder Sword, Shadowless Needle and Crying Blood Demon Fork. Crying Blood Demon Fork was seized from the Bloodslaughter King Court and is very powerful. In addition to the Crying Blood Demon Fork, the remaining 3 top-grade attack magic weapons have one thing in common, that is, they are good at unexpected hidden attacks and killings, which is very consistent with Su Fan's wretched fighting style. He seems to be a physical cultivator who relies on unreasonable close combat, but all kinds of weird tricks emerge in an endless stream. He is definitely an old cunning man. In addition, there are 3 top-grade protective magic tools: Jade Skeleton, 9 Yin Mysterious Turtle Shield, and Dark Blood Shield seized from the Bloodslaughter King's Court. Senior brother Zhuang Rui will help him refine 2 more mid-grade protective magic tools, and he will buy 2 or 3 more. The 6-month trial will be enough for him to consume. Then there are 5 second-level protective J talismans. Although the protective effect of these things is much stronger than protective magic tools, they are all disposable items and will be gone after use. They can only be used at critical moments, and there is a time limit. These protective magic tools and second-level protective J talismans are all life-saving things. Su Fan still thinks this is not enough, and he is going to find a way to purchase a few more protective magic tools. He stayed in the 10,000 miles demon abyss for half a year. Once there are a series of fierce battles, no matter how many protective things he has, they may not be enough for him to consume. Now the only thing he is not satisfied with is the flying magic tool. Su Fan participated in several auctions in Kangjiu City and visited various major stores, but he did not find a very suitable flying magic tool. There are few good ones, and their speed is about the same as that of the Yinfeng boat. Su Fan consulted his senior brother Zhuang Rui in the weapon refining hall. The level of weapon refining in Liangzhou is average, mainly because of the refining materials. The cultivation resources in Liangzhou are still too poor. Take the alchemy cauldron and the cauldron for example. Several major refining materials have to be purchased from the 10,000 miles demon abyss. There are also top-grade protective magic tools, which also require very precious refining materials to have a certain chance of success. This is restricted by the environment, and there is no trick at all. Let's use the Yinfeng boat for now. No matter what, the biggest advantage of the Yinfeng boat is that as long as you are willing to use spirit stones, the speed is still quite impressive. Su Fan sighed. He originally thought that the Yinluo sect, a sect with 1,000-year inheritance, had a very strong foundation. But in the western wilderness area, it can only be regarded as a marginal barren land. When Su Fan was sighing, he felt that someone passed through the formation and walked into his cave. There is no need to guess that it must be the senior sister. Because here in Su Fan, only the senior sister has the formation Jade card, so she can come and go freely. Thanks to the monthly tickets of several book friends, such as Fenfine Cup Tea, Tanaka, Hongxi Tyrant, Tanaka, Shuiao 202206041317130091, YD Shiandeo Rewards Hard Work, Baby and Zaya Amamo, Shuiao 2021012220205844, Shuiao 202111061123052225, and Shuiao 202102211846033814. Thank you for the encouragement and support of several big guys, and thank you for the reward support of Shuiao 201811232012215113. Thank you for a little bit of miscellaneous thoughts, Yankee 7510, and reading 1977 red novels, Kuroro, and Clockwise, Domination 05, Pig Power, Cheyenne Bits and Pieces, Book Friends 202206301959079884, Kitty and 2KO Brother, Book Friends 201912131256373993, Super Cool, Liang Liu, Cool Little Cabbage, Nan Lao Lin, The 100 Millionth Sheep, Cloudy and Breezeless 99999, Wang Zhou, Book Friends 20210301105351010500, Book Friends 202206301959079884. Lao Bu is deeply grateful for the recommendation votes of all the big guys. Thank you all for your love and support. Chapter 135, A Real Monster. As soon as Su Fan left the hut, he saw his senior sister just coming out of the formation. She ran over in a few steps, threw herself on him, and hung on Su Fan. The two of them came to the stone slab beside the pond, and kissed each other like crazy all the way. It was another shameless and infatuated entanglement, until they ran out of energy. They stopped, lying on the stone slab and looking at the endless starry sky. The senior sister rubbed against Su Fan's side and leaned tightly in his arms. You are about to go to the sect trial? How are you preparing? Su Fan stroked the senior sister's hair, lowered his head and kissed her. It's almost ready. The senior sister leaned her head into Su Fan's arms, and then took out a wooden box from the ring. I don't have anything to give you, so I asked the elders at home for this. I hope you can use it. Su Fan took the wooden box, opened it, and was stunned. There was a talisman in the wooden box. This is too expensive. Senior sister rolled her eyes at him and reached out to grab the wooden box. Forget it, I'll find a place to throw it away later. Su Fan chuckled and put the wooden box into his ring. It would be a pity to throw it away, it's better to give it to me. Senior sister glanced at him with contempt and said, I hate you the most. Who are you pretending to be? Su Fan hugged senior sister and whispered in her ear. Have you noticed that the current in my body is stronger than before? Senior sister felt numb after hearing this. Her breathing became rapid, and her whole body was burning hot, as if on fire. This bastard, he only knew how to bully her, and he almost killed her just now. Senior sister was in a state of confusion, and Su Fan pushed her down and pressed her under him. Asshole, I can't take it anymore. It was not until the next morning that Su Fan calmed down. Senior sister was almost tortured to death by him. She slept until the afternoon, then got up with a grin. She saw Su Fan, who was practicing in the open space outside the hut. This bastard was still so energetic after tossing around all night, just like a monster. In the past few months, Su Fan has been busy, brushing various spells and magical powers every day. With plenty of time, the progress of spells is quite gratifying. He also made a summary of his own strength. First of all, it is physical Taoism. 9 extremes continuous slash and Zingai fist are of course open and close, advancing without retreat. Bone-cutting hand and inch power that have been brushed to the great perfection realm are both physical Taoism secrets for close combat. The short form and strong power, extremely brutal and violent fighting style make up for Su Fan's shortcomings in close combat. Demon Roar is a range-type deterrent secret technique. It can achieve unexpected results when used in close combat. Next are the 4 magical powers, all of which are rare physical Taoism auxiliary secrets. The 2 new magical powers that I have just learned will soon reach the realm of subtlety, and the power will be very strong. Once the magical power of Red Lotus purifying the world is activated, no grass will grow within a radius of several feet, and even all creatures hidden underground will be reduced to dust. Especially against ghosts and evil spirits, it is even more powerful and can overcome all ghosts and monsters. The power of Yang Shagod Fire Cover has also begun to show its strength. It not only has strong defense, but also can corrode the opponent's magic tools and talismans. If it is attacked by a negative magic tool or a magic tool or a ghost tool, the defense will be doubled. After several fusions, the two magical powers of Thunder Ghost Step and Thunder Eyes Magic Eyes are no longer the same in terms of power or function. Since Su Fan got more than a dozen bottles of blood transformation pills from the Blood Slaughter King's court, he took 10 bottles, and the blood energy in his body became several times richer. Of course, there are many impurities in the blood, which is not a good thing for blood monks. Messy blood will increase the chance of breaking through bottlenecks in the future. But for Su Fan, that was nothing. A few times of thunder infusion could refine the impurities in the blood and make it pure. The substantial increase in the quality and density of blood and ki also took the blood escape function of Thunder Ghost Step to a new level. Now Su Fan can freely use it between tens of meters and thousands of meters, and the consumed blood and ki will be restored quickly. Thunder Eyes is even more powerful. After several fusions, it not only has the ability to attack the soul, but also has the ability to transform after images, blurry bewitching, and range-type domains. Su Fan defeated many powerful enemies with a Thunder Eyes magical power. If he encountered a disciple of the Nine Nether Demon Palace, Su Fan could not judge, but if he encountered a disciple of the Yinluo sect, anyone below the foundation building stage could defeat him. There are also 3 kinds of curses of the Way of Curse, all of which were mastered by Su Fan. At least in the Yinluo sect, disciples below the foundation building stage could not recover from his curses. The 3 kinds of curses belong to control spells. If used well, they are very useful in fighting. Now, almost all of Su Fan's spells, secret arts, and magical powers have been upgraded. Su Fan also focused on gaining experience for other spells. Spells such as Turtle Breathing Technique, Scent Smell Technique, Ethereal Spirit Technique, Yin Fu Arrow, Corpse Control Technique, Ghost Control Technique, Ghost Contract of the Netherworld, and Soul Delivering Technique are not very useful in this trial. And the current effect is enough, so Su Fan did not invest energy to upgrade them. But Hidden Breath Technique is more useful, and Su Fan has already upgraded it to the state of formation. There is also a spell called Nine Nether Demon Shadow, which has also been upgraded to the state of subtlety by Su Fan. These 2 spells are essential medicines for ambush and sneak attack, and are particularly suitable for Su Fan's dirty style of play. In addition, because Su Fan has broken through the late stage of key training, the ability to control magic tools is becoming more and more important. Therefore, Object Control Technique becomes important, and this spell has also been upgraded to the state of subtlety by Su Fan. Now Su Fan's spiritual consciousness is strong enough to control 3 magic tools at the same time. In addition to the above spells, Su Fan's most important skill is actually Shocking Soul Thorn. This soul attack secret technique is very rare. Compared with Thunder Eyes, it is more aggressive and faster. It is definitely the best weapon for fighting. Su Fan has spent a lot of time to gain experience in the past few months. Now Shocking Soul Thorn has been brushed to the subtle level. After a summary, Su Fan found that he had so many trump cards. Su Fan almost got carried away. With so many awesome magical powers, spells and secret techniques, he could go anywhere in the world. What can the disciples of the upper sect do? They have to kneel down when they meet him. At this time, the senior sister walked to Su Fan's side, looked at his face full of lust, and patted him gently. Alice, what are you thinking about? Your expression is too cheap. Su Fan was slapped by the senior sister, and he couldn't help but shudder. He couldn't help but calm down. He couldn't get carried away. The disciples of the Nine Nether Demon Palace were not comparable to the Yinluo sect. These guys were all ruthless people who had been fighting in the 10,000 miles demon abyss since they were young. Su Fan turned around and hugged his senior sister. I haven't seen you for so long. What should I do if I miss you? The senior sister laughed and said, that's not necessarily true. I was drunk today, so I posted it a little late. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136 Preparation Before the Trial. After hearing what senior sister said, Su Fan was stunned for a moment, and then his face was full of surprise. Are you going with us too? That's great. I can do when we get to Shangzong. Senior sister rolled her eyes at him and eyed him hard. What nonsense are you talking about? You guys are doing the trial? Why should I go with you? Su Fan sighed in disappointment. It seems that he will have to waste a whole year when he goes to Shangzong this time. No, he has to have enough fun before leaving. Su Fan turned his head and looked at senior sister with a mean look, which made her feel panic. I warn you, I can't do it anymore. Su Fan didn't care about that and pressed senior sister to the ground. Asshole, bastard. After senior sister left, Su Fan began to organize his belongings and put them into the ring in several storage bags according to categories. Who would have thought that Su Fan would find a surprise in a storage bag? Last time he defeated Zhu Tai and seized 2 of his magic weapons, Su Fan actually forgot about it. A top-grade protective magic weapon Zhuan Yin White Bone Shield and a top-grade offensive magic weapon Ming Luo Bone Spear. Ming Luo Bone Spear is nothing. Su Fan has no shortage of offensive magic weapons. But the top-grade protective magic weapon Zhuan Yin White Bone Shield is very important at this time. Purchasing a few more mid-grade protective magic weapons will basically be enough for this trial. In fact, the storage ring can hold all the things. But in order to conceal the existence of the storage ring, Su Fan still hung a few 10-square storage bags on his waist. This time when he went to the Shangzong trial, Su Fan planned to take away all the facilities of the cave kitchen. Although there might be no conditions for cooking in the harsh environment of the 10,000 miles demon abyss, Su Fan still decided to put the kitchen facilities into the storage ring. As for the food problem during the trial, Su Fan was also preparing. He went to the ground fire room of the fiery peak and used the scraps of the refining hall to refine several small stoves suitable for the outdoor environment, as well as a set of pots and pans. The stove is very small and easy to place. The following is engraved with an adjustable flame array, and with a special pot, a simple meal can be made in a harsh outdoor environment. In addition, there is a chopping board with a bracket made of black iron wood, as well as a set of knives. Su Fan also ordered a lot of small porcelain bottles, which contain various seasonings. Not only are they easy to carry, but they are also easy to use in harsh outdoor environments. He made a tent with his own hands using the skin of a monster, according to the standards of outdoor camping equipment in his previous life. In fact, monks rarely use tents in the wild, and wearing robes is like spring all year round, so they basically find a person to sit cross-legged and deal with it for a night. But this guy doesn't think so, and thinks that having a tent can make him stay more comfortable. The monster skin used to make the tent is the skin of the purple cloud marten. This monster is good at hiding, and its fur has the effect of hiding its breath. Coupled with the stealth effect of the 6 yin stealth array, the tent is set up in the array, and then a recliner is placed, a tea stove is made next to it, and a pot of spiritual tea is brewed. This is much more comfortable than sitting cross-legged for a night. After all, he will stay in the 10,000 miles demon abyss for half a year, and he has to prepare his food early. Because Su Fan is too good at eating, one meal is enough for others for half a month. If he is asked to eat big pills every day, one pill can last a day for others, but one bottle is not enough for him. Therefore, sufficient food must be prepared in the wild to meet the needs of Su Fan, a glutton. In the past few months, the non-pit outside the thatched hut in Su Fan's cave has been burning day and night, and hundreds of non have been baked. Each one is as big as a wash basin, made of refined spirit noodles, and various seasonings such as sesame, onion, egg, clear oil, ghee, milk, sugar, salt, etc. are added. Not only that, there are many varieties. There are oil naan with sheep oil, meat naan with diced mutton, cumin powder, pepper powder, chopped onion and other condiments, and sesame naan. In addition to naan, Su Fan also baked more than 102-foot-long pot cakes, which were baked on a kang with oil and flour. They were hollow inside, crispy outside, layered inside, thick on the edges, and absorbed juice without leaking soup. You can cut a pig head into pieces with a big knife and put them into the pot cakes that have just come out of the pot. The hot aroma of the flour brings out the aroma of the meat to the extreme, and the greasiness of the fat is absorbed by the pot cakes and turned into invisible. It is fragrant, crispy, and soft, and it is very enjoyable to eat. Because the ring can keep fresh, Su Fan also made a lot of pasta. Pasta such as pies, meat sandwiches, meat buns, scallion pancakes, large pancakes, fried cakes, chive boxes, etc. are packed in special spiritual wood boxes and neatly stacked. The raw material of the box is spiritual wood, which is actually the main function of preventing spiritual energy from overflowing. This stuff is used to keep food fresh. The wood of these boxes alone cost dozens of medium-grade spiritual stones. How wasteful you can say it is. In addition, Su Fan also made some thick soup treasures from his previous life. Condensing the essence into soup jelly, heating it in spiritual spring water, and melting it, you can make a pot of delicious soup. Including mutton offal soup base, mutton bone soup base, soybean paste soup base, dog meat and tofu soup base, beef stewed radish soup base, mushroom soup base, and other thick soups. This is convenient. When the time comes, set up the stove, add water to the pot, throw a piece of soup base in it, and you can drink the delicious thick soup when the pot boils. In addition to these staple foods and soup bases, Su Fan also prepared enough cooked food, including braised beef, red sausage, smoked chicken, smoked rabbit, smoked meat, smoked duck, braised chicken neck, spicy duck head, spicy duck neck, dry fried fish, 5-spice crispy fish, braised pig head, braised pig ears, braised pig mouth strips and other cooked food. In addition to these, there are also various pickles, mustard, and pickled vegetables, which are put into porcelain bottles for easy use. This thing is the most delicious in the wild. There are also all kinds of fresh vegetables, all washed and cut, neatly stacked in the box of nurturing spirit wood. Vegetables are indispensable. They are all cut in advance and neatly stacked in the box made of nurturing spirit wood. Su Fan uses meat from various parts of the iron skin barbarian bull to make various steaks such as fillet, sirloin, ribeye, T-bone, etc. This thing can be fried when the time comes. In fact, it is just for convenience. Drinks and alcohol are much simpler. The secular strong liquor, spiritual rice wine, yellow wine, grape wine, fruit juice, etc., are all put into jars and put into the ring for use at any time. After all, in the wild, and in a place like the 10,000 miles demon abyss, where the environment is harsh, there are monsters and evil demons everywhere. If you want to cook a dish, or eat barbecue, hot pot, etc. in such a place, don't even think about it. Su Fan can only do his best to make some convenient food and make do with it. Anyway, the space in the ring is big enough. Su Fan has been preparing for several months. If all the food is added together, I am afraid that a truck will not be able to fit it. There is no way. Su Fan eats too much? If he does not prepare enough food, he may really starve to death in a broken place like the 10,000-mile demon abyss in half a year. Chapter 137 Soul Breaking Bell and Soul Hidden Veil. The next morning, Su Fan came to Yinluo Peak and strolled around the stalls where the disciples of the sect were setting up stalls. The Yinluo disciples who were setting up stalls here had pretty good things, and they were all from the same sect. Not only were the prices fair, but there were also few scams. So every once in a while, Su Fan would come here to stroll around, and he bought a lot of things he liked. Su Fan came to a stall and found that the disciple setting up the stall was the ghost cultivator from whom he bought a Taiyang ghost order last time. The other party looked up at him, then turned his head away immediately, not wanting to pay any attention to Su Fan. The impression Su Fan left on him last time was too bad. This guy was like a mercenary vendor, which was simply unimaginable for a disciple of the sect. Su Fan didn't take the other party's attitude seriously at all. He squatted in front of the stall and looked through the things one by one. "Brother, do you have any good ghost weapons here?" "No," the other party replied coldly, not wanting to have any intersection with him at all. Su Fan chuckled, "As if he would continue to pester you if you didn't sell it to me." "Brother, I know you have it. I really want to buy it." The stall owner took a deep breath. He knew that if he didn't send this guy away, he would definitely stay here. "Tell me, what kind of ghost weapon do you want?" Su Fan immediately became excited and said quickly, "I have a ghost soldier. I want to match her with a suitable ghost weapon." "Oh, summon it out. Let me see," Su Fan thought, and with a whoosh, Sister Zhen came out of the Taiyang ghost weapon on her waist. She winked at Su Fan mischievously, but when she saw the stall owner opposite, her ghost shadow shrank and hid behind Su Fan. The other party's gloomy aura was too strong. Sister Zhen felt threatened. She curiously stretched her head, peeked at the other party, and then immediately shrank back. "Well, your ghost soldier is not bad. In a few decades, it will become a ghost general, and the soul power is strong, so you should use this." After the other party finished speaking, he took out a pitch-black bell from the storage bag. "This is the top-grade ghost weapon soul-breaking bell. If used properly, one strike can shatter the opponent's soul." Su Fan took the soul-breaking bell and looked at it carefully. Sister Zhen, who was hiding behind him, also poked her head out, her eyes full of expectation. The bell was pitch black, 1 inch in size, and engraved with a picture of a green-faced and fanged evil ghost. It seemed that one could hear a faint sound of ghosts crying and wolves howling, which looked extremely weird. Su Fan turned his head and sent a thought to Sister Zhen behind him. "Do you like it?" Feeling Su Fan's thoughts, Sister Zhen nodded desperately, her face full of surprise. Su Fan smiled and said to the stall owner, "How much merit does this cost?" "I want it, 2,500 merits, no bargaining." After hearing the other party's offer, Su Fan felt that it was okay. The price of the top-grade ghost weapon was quite generous. "Okay, I'll give it to you," Su Fan said, and then he threw the soul-breaking bell to Sister Zhen. After getting the ghost weapon, Sister Zhen kept playing with a magic weapon, and was very excited. The other party didn't expect Su Fan to be so straightforward, which made him a little overwhelmed. He just quoted a little more just to let Su Fan bargain. Although he looks cold, he is actually quite kind. Seeing Su Fan so straightforward, he took out a piece of black gauze from the storage bag. "This is the top-grade ghost weapon soul hidden gauze, which can cover the breadth of the ghost body. If you want it, 2 pieces will be cheaper for you, 4,500 good deeds." Su Fan took the black gauze, held it in his hand, and it was light and fluttering, as thin as a cicada's wing, and it felt like it was there and not there. When it was unfolded, it was nearly a foot long. He handed the black gauze to Sister Zhen behind him, and her eyes were stunned. After putting away the soul-breaking bell in his hand, he didn't know where to hide it. He reached out to take the soul-hidden veil and put it on his body. Sister Zhen's ghost body disappeared instantly. Su Fan was also stunned. He scanned with his spiritual sense, but he didn't feel the existence of Sister Zhen's ghost body. Without thinking, he turned his head and said to the stall owner, "Deal." After Su Fan finished speaking, he took out his identity jade card and transferred the good deeds to the stall owner. After leaving here, he went to the treasure hall and exchanged 3 medium-grade body-protecting magic tools with good deeds. Together with the 2 pieces refined for him by his senior brother Zhuang Rui, the medium-grade body-protecting magic tools in his hand were basically enough. Su Fan also exchanged the souls of dozens of evil spirits and 10 copper-armored zombies in the treasure hall. This time, going to the 10,000 miles demon abyss trial can be said to be full of dangers. Prepare more evil spirits, which can be used for reconnaissance during the day and for sentry at night. As for these copper-armored zombies in the corpse coffin, they are actually used as meat shields, and they are also the best cannon fodder at critical times. Ghosts and zombies are both cheap, useful and inexpensive. They are definitely the best consumables in the harsh environment of the 10,000 miles demon abyss. As for Sister Zhen, she must be cultivated. Su Fan invested a lot for this, including 3 top-grade ghost weapons and a ghost body technique. Even the ghost cultivators of the sect may not have so many awesome equipment. As a demon cultivator, if he doesn't raise a ghost general, he would be embarrassed to say hello to people when he goes out. The time for the trial of the sect is getting closer and closer. Su Fan's preparations in all aspects have been basically completed. Just yesterday, the sect also announced the list of candidates for this trial. As expected, there are many outstanding disciples on the list, but there is not a single family disciple. It seems that the families have received the news of this trial. The disciples of the lower sect will enter the 10,000 miles demon abyss together with the disciples of the 9 nether demon palace, and the danger will undoubtedly increase greatly. The children of each family do not want to send their outstanding children to be cannon fodder. It is said that the competition among the disciples of Jiu Demon Palace is quite cruel. In each trial, less than 40% of the disciples survive. Compared with the upper sect, Yinluo sect is simply a paradise. The demon sects in the marginal areas of the western wasteland, such as Liangzhou and Qinzhou, are close to the central plains and have been at war with the immortal sect for many years. The demon sects are relatively united. In fact, most of the demon sects here are similar to Yinluo sect and Guing sect. They are almost all lower sects of the 4 major demon sects. In recent years, the demon sect has always wanted to dominate the western wasteland. The 4 major demon sects are not easy to come forward, so they have supported a large number of lower sects, so they have been encroaching on the territory of the immortal sect in the western wasteland. The major immortal sects in the central plains certainly do not want to lose this buffer zone, so they are also secretly supporting the immortal sect and sword sect in the western wasteland to fight against the demon sect. The battle between immortals and demons in the eastern part of the western wasteland has lasted for thousands of years. The original territory of many immortal sects in the Western Wasteland is already less than half of what it was back then. Su Fan has no interest in the struggle between immortals and demons. He just wanted to stay in the world of cultivation, practice quietly, and live his own peaceful life. Chapter 138. You won't hate me, would you? Su Fan walked out of the treasure hall, took out a message talisman, and said a few words. After a while, Jin Xing hurried over. He saw Su Fan and bowed his hands with a smile. Brother, I have done everything you asked me to do. After listening to Jin Xing's words, Su Fan nodded. Then he took out his identity jade card and handed it to Jin Xing. After careful consideration, Su Fan decided to exchange all the good deeds in his hand for medium-grade spirit stones before leaving. Don't be afraid of accidents, just be afraid of the unexpected. Once there's a problem in this trial, if you can't come back, the good deeds in the identity jade card will be wasted. Not only that, the things in his cave, such as sauerkraut jars, pickle jars, wine jars, etc., were also swept away by him and put into his storage ring. Even the newly grown vegetables in the vegetable field, the fruits in the orchard, and the grapes and strawberries on the cliff were picked by him. It's no wonder that Su Fan is cautious. He has been wandering around since he came to this world of cultivation. Su Fan has never regarded Yinluo sect as his home. Once the sect is in trouble, he will pack up and leave here immediately without any nostalgia. After Su Fan exchanged his good deeds for spirit stones, he drove the Yinfeng boat to the cave of his master. The old man had already come out and was waiting for him outside the bamboo building. You are about to go for the trial? How are you preparing? After hearing the words of his master, Su Fan bowed and saluted. Everything is ready, the old man nodded, and then sighed. You won't hate me, will you? Su Fan sighed in his heart. It's not that he hates you, anyway, he really doesn't want to go. How dare the disciple resent the master? The old man smiled and pointed at Su Fan. As for you, no one can see through you, he sighed and said, you are a good seedling of the physical way. I have taught you everything I should teach you. If you want to achieve something in the future, you should go to the 10,000 miles demon abyss to see it for yourself. Su Fan hurriedly bowed and thanked his master for his teachings. The Nine Nether Demon Palace is not a Yinluo sect. The disciples of the previous sect are cruel and barbaric, and their combat power is strong. The 10,000 miles demon abyss is also the most dangerous place in the western wilderness. It is full of magic beasts and evil demons, but this trial is definitely a rare experience for you. At this point, the old man was a little excited. The sect is full of short-sighted people. Such a good opportunity for experience, but they dare not let their children go to the trial. If the disciples of the demon sect have not rolled in the pile of dead bodies a few times, what's the point of living? They are just a bunch of drunkards. He sighed and took out a jade slit and handed it to Su Fan. This is the information about the Nine Nether Demon Palace and the 10,000 miles demon abyss. It is my summary over the years. I hope it will be of some use to you. Thank you, master. The old man nodded and waved at him. Go ahead. Don't come over here before you leave. After leaving the master's cave, Su Fan drove the magic weapon back to the cave. To be honest, the master had nothing to say about him. Not only did he transmit the information, but he also responded to his every request. And from the perspective of the master, letting him participate in this trial was definitely for Su Fan's future. Su Fan really didn't want to go. Wouldn't it be better to practice quietly in the sect, live his own life behind closed doors, and have a friend like senior sister come over from time to time to satisfy his cravings? Alice. Su Fan didn't like to toss around the most. This trial would take 4 or 5 months to go back and forth on the road, plus the 6 months in the 10,000 miles demon abyss. It would take at least a year to toss around. With such a long time, there was nothing good to do. A few days later, Su Fan came to the airport outside the mountain gate. It was already full of people, all of whom were disciples who participated in the trial and those who sent them off. Su Fan came to a place with few people and sat cross-legged. Not long after he sat down, he heard someone calling his name. Su Fan looked back and saw Liu He running over. Brother, why didn't you tell me that you were going to the trial? Fortunately, I saw the trial list yesterday, otherwise I wouldn't know. Su Fan smiled. He was very relieved that Liu He could come to see him off. I'm not going to stay forever, what are you worried about? Liu He laughed and said, that's different. Who makes you my eldest brother? After he finished speaking, he looked worried and said, brother, I heard from the people in the inner sect that this trial is not easy. You must be careful. Although this kid is heartless and unreliable, he is really good to him. It's okay. You don't know my ability yet. No matter what sect he is, if he provokes me, I will destroy him anyway." Liu He then turned his worry into joy and laughed. He took out 2 second-level J talismans from his storage bag and handed them to Su Fan. "Brother, this is a little gift from me." Su Fan reached out and punched him, then took the 2 second-level J talismans. "Thank you, brother, you are so thoughtful." Liu He thought about it and laughed. "I originally wanted to give you a talisman, but when I asked the price, I was almost scared to death, so I bought these 2 things. Haha, you really dare to think, junior brother." At this time, someone called his name again from behind. Su Fan turned around and found that his senior brother Zhuang Rui was rushing over. "Junior brother, please forgive me. I was refining a magic weapon at Lihoro Peak last night, and I almost forgot that you were leaving today." Su Fan bowed to Zhuang Rui and said, "Senior brother, you can come to see me off. I am very grateful." Zhuang Rui smiled and said, "Who made me your senior brother? The old master will definitely not come to see you off. It can only be me, your senior brother, who came." After he finished speaking, he patted Su Fan on the shoulder and said in a deep voice, "Junior brother, you must be careful. When you come back, we will not return until we are drunk." At this time, a bone boat flew over from a distance and slowly docked at the dock of the airport. A Foundation building elder walked out of the flying boat and shouted loudly to the disciples participating in the trial in the square. All trial disciples, board the boat immediately. Su Fan turned his head and took a look, then clasped his fists towards Zhuang Rui. "Brother, I'm leaving. When I'm not around, go visit Master more often, go without worry. I'll be there for Master." Su Fan nodded, and then reached out and patted Liu He's shoulder. "Brother, I'm leaving." Liu He's eyes turned red when he heard this. He wanted to say something but couldn't, so he just nodded heavily. Su Fan bowed to the 2 again, then turned and walked towards the flying boat. He followed the crowd to board the flying boat, and before entering the door, he turned around and waved to the 2 people in the distance. As soon as Su Fan walked into the bone boat, he saw 3 elders in the Foundation building period standing there. He was stunned for a moment, because he saw the senior sister, looking at him expressionlessly, with a slight smile on her lips. Su Fan reacted and quickly bowed to the 3 uncles. "Greetings to all the uncles, well, go in." After hearing the words of the uncle in the lead, Su Fan quickly walked into the bone boat. Chapter 139 Journey. After the huge bone boat took off, it slowly ascended into the air, carrying the 500 disciples of this trial, and flew to the distant demon abyss of 100,000 miles. Su Fan received a J token from the disciple on duty in the bone boat. He was assigned to a separate cabin, located at the innermost part of the bone boat, which was quite a secluded place. Su Fan took out the J token and swept it at the door, and the cabin door opened. The cabin was 3 meters square, and the furnishings were very simple. There was nothing except a kang and a kang table. Fortunately, each cabin had a small window, and you could see the scenery outside by lying on the window. If there was no such window, the journey of several months would definitely drive people crazy. Su Fan took out a futon and threw it on the kang, sat cross-legged on it, then propped up the clay stove next to it, lit the spiritual wood charcoal, and placed a red clay kettle. He took out a few small plates, and put some dried fruits and cakes on each plate, all of which were purchased in Kangjiu City before leaving. After a while, the water in the teapot boiled. Su Fan took out a bag of spiritual tea, put a few leaves in the teacup, and brewed a cup of spiritual tea for himself. He took the spiritual tea, drank it happily, and grabbed a few dried fruits to eat. Swoosh, Su Fan called Sister Zhen out again and let her float beside him. No matter what, Sister Zhen is also a great beauty, at least she is pleasing to the eyes. It's just that the cabin is chilly, with built-in air conditioning. The voyage of the bone boat will take several months at least, so I have to find some fun for myself. At noon, he took out the outdoor kitchen utensils he made himself, put on the baking tray and fried a few large pieces of fillet steak for himself. When the oil sizzled, he sprinkled the fried meat with small ingredients. Then he picked up the knife and fork, put a piece of meat in his mouth, and ate it with oil all over his mouth. He picked up a glass of wine and took a sip. No matter when you live, you must have a sense of ritual. After eating and drinking, Su Fan took out a jade slip given to him by his master and put it on his forehead. After a long time, Su Fan put down the jade slip. This jade slip of Master was extremely useful to him. It contained information about the 9 Nether Demon Palace and the 100,000 miles Demon Abyss. And all the information was recorded in great detail. The 9 Nether Demon Palace was located in the central area of the Western Wasteland, right next to the 100,000 miles Demon Abyss. The 4 major demon sects in the Western Wasteland, like the 9 Nether Demon Palace, all had their mountain gates built on the edge of the 100,000 miles Demon Abyss. Because there were several first-order spirit beings and dozens of second-order spirit beings here, there were nearly 100 demon sects of all sizes gathered around. The so-called 100,000 miles Demon Abyss actually referred to the western part of the Western Wasteland, a large area polluted by demonic energy. In the past, every time the foreign demons from Ocean invaded the world of cultivation, they opened a space channel from the Western Wasteland. The Western Wasteland also became the main battlefield for both sides. Countless fierce battles over tens of thousands of years have also caused nearly half of the Western Wasteland to be polluted by demonic energy, forming today's 100,000 miles Demon Abyss. In areas polluted by demonic energy, a large number of monsters either died or migrated, but some were polluted and mutated into monsters. After tens of thousands of years of reproduction, an ecological environment suitable for the growth of magic beasts has naturally formed. Not only that, because the area of the 100,000 mile Demon Abyss is too large, many foreign evil demons left over from the war have also survived here. It is said that the 4 major demon sects can easily wipe out these foreign evil demons left over, but now the 100,000 mile Demon Abyss is full of foreign evil demons. Maybe the 4 major demon sects did it on purpose to increase the difficulty of the trials of their disciples. It may also be that they want the disciples in the sect to encounter foreign evil demons earlier, so that when Ocean invades again, they will not be in a hurry. Su Fan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. These demon sects around the 100,000 mile Demon Abyss have been fighting in the Demon Abyss for many years. You can imagine their combat effectiveness. Thinking of this, he took a deep breath. You really can't underestimate the disciples of the upper sect. When you enter the 100,000 mile Demon Abyss, you must be careful and cautious, and you must not be careless. Su Fan picked up the jade slip again, put it on his forehead and read it carefully. The jade slip that Master gave him was all the valuable experience he had summed up from countless trials in the Demon Abyss when he was in the upper sect. The jade slip also included a partial map of the Demon Abyss, and even recorded which areas were dangerous and where there were demon beasts and demons in great detail. Su Fan knew in his heart that this jade slip was absolutely a priceless treasure for him, and it could save his life at a critical moment. Master really had nothing to say to him, which was considered to be very kind and righteous. Next, Su Fan kept studying the jade slip, and before he knew it, it was midnight. At this time, the cabin door opened, and he saw Senior Sister sneaking into the cabin. Su Fan was dumbfounded. Senior Sister was too bold. He was surrounded by the cabins of the sect's trial disciples. If he was discovered, how could he face people in the future? I didn't expect Senior Sister to be so impatient. Senior Sister, why are you here? Seeing Su Fan's surprised face, Senior Sister laughed and then activated a silent note. Do you think you can escape from my clutches by leaving the sect? Su Fan understood that his cabin was specially arranged by his Senior Sister, and even the jade card of the cabin was copied, just to facilitate entry and exit. At this moment, the Senior Sister's eyes were charming, and her eyes were watery, almost dripping with water. You are my person tonight, even if you shout your throat out, it's useless. Before she finished speaking, Su Fan pressed her against the cabin wall. Asshole, let me go, don't. Su Fan didn't care about that. No matter what time, he couldn't let a woman ride on his head. The two of them tossed and turned again, and they were wild for most of the night. Anyway, there was a mute note, so no matter how loud the noise was, they were not afraid of being heard by others. The Senior Sister left quietly before dawn. Su Fan lay on the kang, silently recalling the shameless moments of the two together, and felt extremely satisfied in his heart. It doesn't matter how much foundation building, you still call me daddy. The days that followed were extremely boring. The voyage of almost 4 or 5 months is undoubtedly a test for these trial disciples. You can imagine how it feels to be stuck in a cabin of 3 meters square every day and take fasting pills every day. Fortunately, they are all cultivators, so they can use their boring time to practice. Of course, Su Fan has been living a very comfortable life during this period. The Senior Sister comes here almost every day, enters the room at midnight, and leaves before dawn. In addition to practicing, the two of them are tossing around together endlessly until the senior sister is exhausted. And Su Fan does not need to take fasting pills. He has prepared a huge amount of food for himself. Even if he eats as much as he wants, he can eat for more than a year. Now even the senior sister comes to him every day to eat and drink. Thanks to book friends 20210201170138104, book friend 20170518060802519, Midnight Half Pack of Cigarettes, Nightmare, Fufang 123, and several book friends for their monthly tickets. Thanks to several big guys for their encouragement and support. Thanks to book friend 2018112232012211513 for their reward support. Thanks to Yaudi and Zanian, it's the third generation, Liang Liu, Yankee 7510, Tongayu 05, Potato 999, and book friend 854321, Cool Little Cabbage, 18,170,860,308, and Clockwise, Kuroro, Bits and Pieces of the World, Super Awesome, TC0123, Salted Fish asking for a turn, book friend 20191213125637393, book friend 20200122192225737, Pig Power, book friend 150,520,212,023,876. Laobu is deeply grateful for the recommendation votes from all the big guys. Thank you all for your love and support. Chapter 140 Yinshan Pass. After 5 months of sailing, the bone boat finally arrived at the destination of this trial, the 10,000-mile demon abyss. As the huge bone boat slowly descended, the 500 trial disciples of Yinluo sect walked down the bone boat one after another. Su Fan followed the crowd down the bone boat and came to a huge square. This is a bone boat docking point, with dozens of huge bone boats parked around. Many people gathered in the square, which seemed noisy. The 3 foundation building elders leading the Yinluo sect were negotiating with a black-robed monk. It seemed that the negotiation between the two sides was not going smoothly. The other party should be a disciple of the 9 Nether Demon Palace, with a late stage of key training. But he did not show any respect to the 3 foundation building predecessors of Yinluo sect, and he was also arrogant. In front of so many disciples of the sect, the 3 elders felt very embarrassed. The middle-aged foundation building elder who was in the lead was obviously a little angry and quarreled with the other party. But this disciple of the upper sect did not give face at all, and kept a stern face, and did not take the 3 foundation building predecessors seriously at all. The scene was deadlocked for a while, until a foundation building elder from the upper sect came and the atmosphere eased. The elder from the upper sect looked polite, but he did not reprimand the black-clothed disciple, and he did not even pretend to do so. Su Fan could not help but sigh that the disciples from the upper sect were really crazy. The 500 trial disciples from the Yinluo sect also watched all this silently, and there was a sense of resentment around them. Although they knew that they would definitely be troubled when they came to the upper sect for the trial this time, they never expected that the foundation building elder of the sect would be contradicted by a disciple from the upper sect who was in the late stage of key training. What is a slap in the face? This is it. People treat the foundation building elders so slowly, and they must not take them, the trial disciples, seriously. All the disciples of the Yinluo sect had gloomy faces. Many people looked worried and were very worried about the upcoming trial. This time in the trial in the demon abyss, with a brutal character of the disciples from the upper sect, they would definitely kill them without mercy. When they met the disciples from the lower sect near the bone boat docking point, there is a huge fortress Yinshan Pass. Yinshan Pass is built on the mountain. The black wall is nearly 10 feet high. The surface is mottled and covered with rusty iron spikes and hooks, which looks very old. There are many guards standing on the wall, wearing the same standard armor, which is engraved with rune prohibitions, which is equivalent to powerful defensive magic weapon. According to Master Yufu, these guards are magic soldiers refined by various demon sects through secret methods. These magic soldiers are mortals without spiritual roots, but their bodies are strong. They can not only activate magic talismans, but also use magic soldiers, but their lifespan is only 60 years. After entering the city, the architectural style in the city looks very rough, the streets are bumpy, and the houses on both sides are built with huge stones. There is no decoration on the outside, giving people a very hard feeling. Fortunately, there are shops, hotels and so on in the city, and business is booming. There are many people in the city. From the logo of the robe, it can be seen that they are all trial disciples from various lower sects. Su Fan and his companions were led to a huge courtyard with very simple facilities. There were only rows of stone houses neatly arranged. The disciples of Yinluo sect each chose a nearby stone house, put it in a simple arrangement, and then went to the city in groups of 3 or 5. The 5-month-long journey made these disciples who participated in the trial feel very depressed. Su Fan didn't want to wander around the city, so he decided to practice hard. He also found a stone house. It was not big, only 10 feet square, empty and covered with dust. He took out a cleaning talisman and cleaned the stone house. Then he took out a cushion and put it on the ground, sitting cross-legged on it. It might be because it was close to the 10,000 miles demon abyss, because it had become a place without spirits. So the concentration of spiritual energy here was very average, equivalent to the level of Shaoyuan market. In desperation, Su Fan had to take out the spirit gathering array, press the spirit stone, and start practicing Hunungong. After the 9th transformation of Gongsing, he started to brush on the proficiency of spells. They were about to enter the 10,000 miles demon abyss. It was better to sharpen the spear before the battle. In the evening, the senior sister came secretly again. The conditions here were simple, so they dared not indulge themselves anymore. They could only snuggle together and chat. I am really angry. These disciples of the upper sect are too arrogant. The senior sister was also very angry today. She complained to Su Fan and scolded the upper sect disciple for being disrespectful. After all, in front of so many disciples of the sect, being humiliated by a key training disciple would make anyone angry. Su Fan did not speak, but just listened silently. Who let him be the upper sect? The master was so powerful back then, but he was still calculated by others and his realm dropped to the foundation building stage. The 9 Nether Demon Palace is a Yuanying sect in this world of cultivation. No one will reason with you. Strength is the hard truth. You accompany me to the city, let's not do it. It will have a bad influence if someone sees us. What are you afraid of? I don't care, I care. How can I live if it gets out? People who don't know will think I'm your lover, you bastard. I'll strangle you to death. In the end, Su Fan couldn't resist the pull of his senior sister, so he had to follow her into the city. The senior sister changed her clothes and put on a black gauze hat to cover her face. The two came to a restaurant. Just as they were about to go up, they saw several people coming down from above. They were all seniors in the foundation building period. Su Fan lowered his head and stood behind the senior sister. At this time, a female cultivator came down the stairs. The female cultivator was beautiful and extraordinary, with beautiful eyes like stars and a graceful body. She was beautiful in every way. The black skirt was not stained with dust, and the soft skirt swayed lightly, as if she would fly to the fairyland at any time. Su Fan glanced at her and was stunned. Isn't this Gu Qinghuan? Why is she here? Su Fan lowered his head quickly and took a half step back behind his senior sister, fearing that she would recognize him. Although he is now an inner disciple of Yinluo sect, he doesn't have to be as afraid of her as before. But it was really a scumbag to pull out the pendant and run away. Is this a manly thing to do? So when he saw Gu Qinghuan again, Su Fan felt guilty. It wasn't until Gu Qinghuan and others walked past them that Su Fan followed his senior sister upstairs. Gu Qinghuan took a few steps, suddenly turned his head, glanced at Su Fan who was going upstairs, and his face suddenly turned cold. When he came to the second floor, Su Fan patted his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. I was scared to death. There were not many diners upstairs, and the two found a seat by the window and sat down, and asked the waiter to order a table of spiritual dishes. Su Fan picked up the wine pot and poured a glass of spiritual wine for his senior sister. He picked up the wine glass and was about to toast his senior sister, but found that Gu Qinghuan was standing not far away, looking at him with cold eyes. Chapter 141, A Scumbag is a Scumbag. As soon as the senior sister picked up the wine glass, she found that Su Fan's face was dull. She turned her head subconsciously and saw Gu Qinghuan. Gu Qinghuan's face was gloomy and she stared at Su Fan. The pair of clear eyes, calm as water, flowed with a cold and murderous aura, gorgeous and dangerous. For some reason, the senior sister suddenly felt an inexplicable emotion in her heart. Her intuition told her that there was more than hatred between the other party and Su Fan. The senior sister stood up all of a sudden, took off her black gauze hat, revealing a bright and beautiful face, and blocked Su Fan. Seeing that the senior sister blocked Su Fan, Gu Qinghuan's face became even colder. In the past few years, she had thought countless times that if she saw this guy again, she must kill him. But for some reason, when she saw Gu Qinghuan at this moment, she suddenly felt very wronged, and the feeling of heartache made her feel unwilling. The senior sister was the same. From the first time she saw Gu Qinghuan, she knew that this woman must have an entangled relationship with Su Fan. Women's intuition is terrible. As for logic, it doesn't exist at all, but they just know it. Isn't it amazing? The two women subconsciously ignored Su Fan's existence and focused their attention on each other. At this moment, the atmosphere on the second floor of the hotel suddenly became very quiet. The air solidified at this moment, and time seemed to have stopped. The other diners in the restaurant were infected by such a weird atmosphere. They all looked here, and then they were attracted by the two female cultivators. One has a cold temperament, as if nothing is in her heart, cold and moving, making people feel ashamed and dare not blaspheme. The other has black hair like a waterfall, heroic and valiant, and the majestic beauty reveals a fascinating charm that makes people unforgettable. All the diners' eyes were straight, as if they were frozen in a painting, and even their thoughts were completely stagnant. But the murderous aura that followed instantly spread all over the sky. The two people's thoughts frequently crossed in the air, like the light of swords and the shadows of swords, revealing a chilling murderous aura. Hua hua, the cups, plates, and bowls on the surrounding wine tables were shaking violently, making a series of crisp sounds. Pa! Several plates fell to the ground and shattered instantly. In an instant, all the distracting thoughts in the diners' minds disappeared. They realized that the two female foundation-building cultivators had murderous intentions. Once they started fighting, it would be earth-shattering. At that time, the people next to them would inevitably be affected. The cultivators at the nearby tables got up and fled, and the others also moved aside. The originally quiet restaurant became chaotic. Su Fan didn't know how to describe his mood at the moment. He felt that he had become a superfluous person. He couldn't let them continue to make trouble. It was too outrageous. Pa! Thinking of this, Su Fan slammed the table and yelled. Enough! The two women who were originally murderous glared at him almost at the same time. Shut up! Shut up! Su Fan, who was still majestic just now, instantly shrank his neck, lowered his head and dared not speak. The two women are too cruel, so it's better not to provoke them at this time. Fortunately, after Su Fan did this, the murderous aura of the two people also dissipated. Although the atmosphere is still tense, it is no longer as dangerous as before. The diners in the restaurant also breathed a sigh of relief and returned to their respective tables to eat and drink. But from time to time, some people secretly looked at Su Fan, wanting to see what he was good at. Everyone couldn't help but sigh in their hearts, how could this kid be so virtuous? At this time, the senior sister also restored her previous generosity and bowed to Gu Qinghuan. What's your name? Gu Qinghuan laughed and bowed. Ghost King Sect, Gu Qinghuan. The senior sister's eyes condensed. Of course, she had heard of this name. It is said that the other party is also notorious in Yongzhou. She glanced at Su Fan next to her, and seeing that he looked guilty, she was furious. The senior sister suppressed her inner resentment, took a deep breath, and then smiled and introduced herself. I've heard a lot about you. I'm Su Yaozhen from Yinluo Sect. At this point, she glanced at Su Fan, who was bowing his head and pretending to be a dog. I wonder how my nephew has offended me. Gu Qinghuan exploded when she heard this. You old woman, I'm obviously younger than you. She sneered. Sister, can you let your nephew come with me? I want to reminisce with him. After hearing what Gu Qinghuan said, the fire in her heart jumped and rushed to the top of her head. Reminiscing about the past, it must be rekindling old feelings. Oh. Just tell me if there's anything. If this kid has offended me before, I will punish him as an elder. Su Fan lowered his head and listened to the two women's verbal battle. He felt so aggrieved. But he really didn't dare to get angry. The two women were both in the foundation building stage, and he really couldn't beat them. Gu Qinghuan's eyes flashed with cold light, and his tone became murderous. Sister, you don't want to give me this face. Speaking of which, we are all fellow disciples. If there's anything, can't we sit down and talk? After the sister finished speaking, she raised her hand to make a gesture of invitation. Gu Qinghuan took a deep breath. Now this guy's identity is no longer a casual cultivator. Thinking of this, she smiled and bowed. Some other day, sister, goodbye. After she finished speaking, She glared at Su Fan fiercely, her eyes swept over him like a sharp sword, and then turned and floated away. Su Fan didn't breathe a sigh of relief until Gu Qinghuan's figure disappeared. He finally straightened his waist, and when he looked up, he saw the gloomy eyes of the sister opposite. "Oh, sister, the sister waved her hand, and said coldly with a stern face, "I don't want to listen." Su Fan was so frustrated. His current situation was like being caught in bed. "This is fucking. Sister, it's not what you think. That woman, Pa." The sister slammed the table and interrupted Su Fan's words. "I said, I don't want to hear your shit." After she finished speaking, she stood up and was about to go downstairs. Su Fan quickly reached out and grabbed senior sister. Su Fan pressed senior sister down on her seat, and then took out a mute note, and the sound of the two people talking instantly disappeared. The diners who had been eavesdropping with their ears perked up. All cursed Su Fan in their hearts for being shameless. They were just enjoying listening, but were interrupted by this kid. Senior sister sat there with a cold face, eating by herself, and had no intention of paying attention to Su Fan at all. Su Fan also lost his patience, and couldn't go on like this. At this time, he didn't care anymore, so he told senior sister all the grievances between him and Gu Qinghuan from beginning to end. Let him be a scumbag, even if senior sister ignores him in the future, Su Fan will accept it. Whatever happens, it's just a big deal. A man should live an upright life. If he has done it, he should admit it. Why bother to get entangled? Thanks to bookfriend 20220506180912275, bookfriend 20171204175003754. Did you eat barbecue today? Qziant 123, Liang Liu, Happy Pig Nest, bookfriend 20170162050250341, Tang Fangiu, bookfriend 20210403205857608, Drink Coke and Beat Jess, Pikehead Husband, One Mountain Wind, Free and Easy Swordsman 2, Midnight Half Pack of Cigarettes, bookfriend 20210211846038814, GG88, S Forest Wood, Ztecking, and several book friends for their monthly tickets. Thank you for the encouragement and support of several big guys, and thank the Flying Bird and book friend 20,190,807. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end 109, and clockwise, how can you say X has no clothes? Yankee 7510, have you eaten barbecue today? Book friend 161,128,222,045,156, book friend 20220618122117509, Potato 999, The Dragon Reappears, Liang Liu, A Little Distracting Thoughts, YD Gout Rewards Hard Work, Rule 05, Numbness in White Clothes, Kuroro, Reading 1977 Reading Novels, Yuban Genos, How Can You Say X Has No Clothes? Time is Silent. Oh, Cool Little Cabbage, book friend 20210815111632717, The Senior Sister We Are In Is Fake. Labu is deeply grateful for the recommendation votes from all the big guys. Thank you all for your love and support. Chapter 142. I'm not tired of playing yet. Su Fan talked for a long time, recounting all the right and wrong between him and Gu Qinghuan. Senior sister didn't say anything either, just eating by herself, taking a sip from the wine glass from time to time. Although she seemed to be indifferent, she actually didn't miss a word Su Fan said. Su Fan was dry-mouthed, so he took a sip from the wine glass. I was possessed by the devil at that time, and I couldn't control myself at all. No. I didn't know what I was doing. Senior sister took the wine glass and drank it all, then put it heavily on the table. The sound of her putting the glass on the table was a little loud, which scared Su Fan. He quickly picked up the wine pot and poured another glass for senior sister. Why don't you say something? Senior sister rolled her eyes and teased, what do you want me to say? Ask you if you were happy at that time, or ask you how Gu Qinghuan's figure is. After she finished speaking, she put on a black gauzy hat, stood up and walked out, and Su Fan hurriedly followed her. After leaving the restaurant, the senior sister slowly strolled down the street, and Su Fan followed her silently. Neither of them spoke. The more Su Fan thought about it, the more bored he felt. He really didn't want to waste time on these trivial things. He could use this time to brush up his spell proficiency. He didn't want to waste any more time. As for the senior sister, there would be no result for the two of them anyway. It's better to suffer a short pain than a long pain. Let's take this opportunity to completely break up. Thinking of this, Su Fan took a deep breath. Senior sister, I've thought about it. You are now a senior who has established a foundation. Let's forget about it in the future. After he said that, he turned around and left. He felt a lot more relaxed, and his steps were lighter than before. Break up. With his current level of cultivation, he should stay away from women. Su Fan had just taken a few steps when he was hugged from behind. Turning around, he saw that it was the senior sister who caught up with him. Do you want to go find Gu Kenghoon? Su Fan rolled his eyes. Senior sister is such a generous and cheerful person. Is her brain circuit so strange? I'm not looking for anyone. I want to stay away from you. Are you satisfied? As soon as he finished speaking, he felt his arm being bitten hard by his senior sister. Su Fan's body was indeed strong. Even if the monster bit him, it might not hurt him, but it would still hurt. The senior sister was really cruel. She bit him with all her strength and almost killed Su Fan with pain. You want to leave like this? What are you thinking about? I'm not tired of playing with you yet. After she finished speaking, she dragged Su Fan to a hotel in the city, opened a room, and pushed Su Fan down and tossed him all night. The next day, Su Fan walked out of the hotel with a frustrated face. I don't know what happened to this woman. She was full of fighting power last night and tossed him all night. Su Fan sighed. Never underestimate a woman's fighting power. Last night, the senior sister taught him, a physical cultivator, a lesson. He was walking on the street and suddenly found that the atmosphere on the street was a little different from yesterday. There seemed to be more people in the city, and the temperament of these people was completely different from the few disciples who went to the sect yesterday. Just then, a man came over from the opposite side. He was about 27 or 28 years old and had reached the 9th level of key training. This man had a sinister and fierce look in his eyes. He was skinny and bony, as if he was hiding a skeleton. He held a small black seal with 4 corners in his right hand and kept playing with it in his hand. The black airflow was like a poisonous snake circling around the seal. When the other party saw Su Fan looking at him, he swept his eyes coldly over him, like a poisonous snake that was ready to bite someone, revealing a sense of sinisterness. Moreover, his figure deliberately moved towards Su Fan, obviously looking for trouble. He turned his head away, made way to the side, and then hurriedly walked past the other party. When passing by the other party, Su Fan heard a cold snort, with deep disdain and contempt in his voice. Su Fan didn't care about the other party's naked provocation, as if he didn't hear it. Anyway, he couldn't kill people in Yinshan Pass, so what was the point of having these meaningless disputes? Just a glance just now, Su Fan felt an unprecedented danger from the other party. This person is a ruthless person who has been wandering between life and death for many years and has crawled out of the pile of dead bodies countless times. Compared with him, the disciples of Yinluo sect are no different from the newbies in the novice village. It seems that the 500 disciples of the sect are in danger in this trial. It will be good if they can return with 10% success. Of course, even if the master said, the disciples who can survive this trial will not be low in their future achievements. Compared with the upper sect, Yinluo sect is still too conservative. On the way, you can meet disciples of Jiu Iao Demon Palace from time to time, who are equally violent and cruel. You can't see a trace of pity and gentleness on the faces of these upper sect disciples, as if they never take life and death seriously. When I returned to the Yinluo sect's residence, I saw that several stone houses were surrounded by people. Su Fan walked over, and many disciples around him were talking loudly. All of them looked indignant. Is senior brother Wen okay? He was severely injured. Did the law enforcement disciples of the upper sect care? Those law enforcement disciples did come over, but they didn't care at all. They even judged it as a mutual fight. Senior brother Wen was eating at the restaurant. The other party came in and wanted to grab his table. Of course, senior brother Wen refused to do so, and he was beaten by the other party. In the morning, senior brother he was also beaten. This group of disciples of the upper sect is too rampant. We can't just let it go. Let's go to Elder Liu and ask for an explanation for senior brother Wen. Listening to the discussion of the disciples next to him, Su Fan finally understood what was going on. Since the disciples of the upper sect arrived, dozens of disciples of the Yinluo sect have been severely injured. The law enforcement disciples of the 9 Nether Demon Palace are even more excessive. They are biased towards the disciples of the upper sect without any scruples. Only in Yinshan Pass, these disciples of the upper sect can still restrain themselves. If they enter the 10,000 miles demon abyss, Su Fan shook his head and turned back to the cave. It seems that the upper sect emphasizes the law of the jungle, where the strong prey on the weak and the fittest survive. Facing the disciples of the upper sect who were trained in such a cruel atmosphere, you still expect them to reason with you. What's even more ridiculous is that some disciples are like elementary school students, hoping that the elders of the sect will seek justice for them. The disciples of Yinluo sect are still too naive. Will the hungry wolves care about the ideas of sheep? The only way to gain the respect of the other party is to defeat them. Of course, Su Fan doesn't care how many people die in Yinluo sect. What Su Fan is thinking about now is how he will deal with these disciples of the upper sect in the 10,000 miles demon abyss. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143 is available today. The editor has just informed me that this book will be on the shelves today. I hope everyone will support it. Lao Bu's book has sold more than 300,000 copies. It is not easy to write it up to now. Finally, I would like to thank all the book friends who have always supported this book. Thank you all for your help and encouragement. Chapter 144 Evil Spirit Bone. Although the disciples of Yinluo sect were very excited, they no longer wandered around the city in groups of 3 or 5, as they did in the past. The atmosphere in the Yinluo sect's headquarters was very depressing. The disciples who were undergoing the trial did not leave the sect's headquarters, but stayed in their respective stone houses to practice. At noon, the 3 foundation building elders who led the team gathered all the disciples and gave them some comfort. At this time, everyone saw the situation clearly. Why did the sect only send 3 foundation building elders to lead the team for this trial, and not even 1 golden elixir? Leading the team to participate in the trial this time was clearly a tough job for several foundation building elders. In the evening, the senior sister came over again secretly. Since Gu Qinghuan appeared, the senior sister seemed to have changed a lot, and she became more and more attached to Su Fan. The two snuggled together, and Su Fan listened to the senior sister's nagging complaints, and couldn't help but ask a question. You know this is a tough job, why did you come along? The senior sister smiled and said, I came here by chance. I will go directly to the upper sect after the trial. As a newly promoted elite disciple of Yinluo sect, I have the opportunity to study in the upper sect for a few years. After she finished speaking, she looked up at Su Fan and said faintly, actually, I can wait for another 2 years. I am mainly worried about you. Su Fan did not speak, but lowered his head to kiss the senior sister, and then hugged her tightly. The senior sister sighed and said with a worried look on her face, during the trial, you must be careful and never provoke those disciples of the upper sect. Su Fan couldn't help but smile bitterly in his heart. If he didn't provoke them, would they let him go? He could see that this trial was very cruel, and there would be only a few disciples of the lower sect who survived. After entering the 10,000-mile demon abyss, I will find a safe place to hide and hide there for 6 months before coming out. This is not Su Fan's nonsense, he just thinks so. Fighting and killing is so boring. What else can you do with this time? At this moment, in a courtyard in the Yinshan Pass fortress, nearly 100 disciples of the 9 Nether Demon Palace were gathered here. So many people were obviously divided into several small groups, each standing together. A black-robed monk was the first to stand out. He was thin, wearing a black cloak and a wide hood, so people couldn't see his face clearly. He bowed to everyone. Everyone, this trial still follows the old rules. The first one to rush out of the Yinfeng Gorge wins. A tall and strong black-robed monk stood out at this time. He had a pale face and long hair draped over his shoulders. He looked wild and unruly. Bone spurs grew on his knees, shoulders and chest, and he looked ferocious and fierce. Brother Qi, there are too many scumbags coming from the lower sect this time. I find them annoying. Why don't we add some prizes? Brother Guan, I understand what you mean. Let's clean up these scumbags first. Let's see who gets the most identity jade cards of the thousands of lower sect disciples. The one who spoke was a young man with a stern face. He had loose white hair and his eyes were glowing with dark red light, which was quite strange in the dark night. After he finished speaking, He took out an animal egg and said with a smile, "This is my prize. Take it out and let everyone have fun. Brother Joe, you are willing to give away the eggs of the ghost-faced dove? Then I won't be polite, haha." A handsome young man next to him laughed. His eyes were narrow and long, and his eyes revealed a disturbing majesty, as if he was a king who dominated the life and death of others. Junior brother Joe glanced at him with a stern face and said coldly, "Senior brother he, let's show everyone your prize first." Senior brother he chuckled and took out a piece of dry bone from his ring. Evil spirit bone. Junior brother Joe's eyes narrowed and he shouted with surprise. Hiss. Everyone around took a breath of cold air. This thing is rare. The prizes of the two people are rare things, and the atmosphere around them became hot. Several people who led several groups also took out valuable precious materials as the prizes this time. Although they are a little worse than the ghost-faced dove and evil spirit bone, they are also extremely rare and precious materials. Looking at so many precious materials, the eyes of the disciples participating in the trial of the 9 Nether Demon Palace were red. Junior brother Joe stared at the piece of evil spirit bone and then looked at senior brother he. "Brother, let's discuss something. Give this bone to me. You can ask for any conditions." The people around him were immediately upset after hearing what he said. "Zio Joe, what do you mean? It's a prize. Why should I give it to you? Joe Chang, are you scared?" Brother Joe also knew that he had offended everyone, so he quickly bowed to the people around him. "Brothers, please help me this time. Just think of it as the Joe family owes you a favor." When the others saw him move out of the Joe family, they all hesitated. The Joe family's momentum of rising in the 9 Nether Demon Palace was very strong, and no one wanted to offend the Joe family because of such a trivial matter. Brother he waved his hand, and the noise around them suddenly quieted down. "Joe Chang, since you have said this, then I will ask for a condition." Joe Chang's eyes lit up, and he quickly said, "Brother, please tell me, haha. You know, I have liked your sister for a long time. As long as she marries me, this bone will be yours." The people around him were all excited after hearing what he said. The Joe and he families are sworn enemies and never have anything to do with each other. This is well known in the 9 Nether Demon Palace. Senior brother he proposed such a condition, which was clearly a joke to Joe Chang. As expected by everyone, Joe Chang was so angry that his face turned pale after hearing what senior brother he said. He pointed at senior brother he and angrily said, "He Bin, you are looking for death?" Facing the furious Joe Chang, He Bin didn't take it seriously at all, but looked at him with a smile. "Zio Joe, don't be so angry. Is it so difficult to call me brother-in-law?" Joe Chang suppressed his anger and panted heavily. He pointed at He Bin and turned away with a cold face. When the people around him saw that there was no fun to watch, they all dispersed. Joe Chang left the yard with a gloomy face. Although he was fooled by that bastard He Bin today, he didn't have the heart to think about it. Because that piece of evil spirit bone was too important to him. He suddenly stopped and turned around to explain to the people around him. "Tell the people below to kill them once they enter the demon abyss. I will pay 3 times the reward for a J token that allows them to be a lower sect disciple." The people around him were all surprised and responded loudly. Joe Chang thought for a moment and then said, "Spread the news so that all the sect disciples who are participating in the trial know that I paid a high price for the jade token that allows them to be a sect disciple." His face became even more gloomy after he finished speaking, and he clenched his fists. No matter how much it costs, he must get that piece of evil spirit bone. Chapter 145. The trial begins. In the early morning, a brilliant light appeared. On the horizon in the distance, a large area of white was revealed, and the whole earth was awakened from its slumber. The day of the trial finally arrived. Early in the morning, the 3 elders of Yinluo sect gathered the trial disciples in the sect and led the team to the boneboat dock outside the city. Su Fan followed the crowd out of the Yinshan Pass fortress and came to the square outside the city. At this moment, the place was already full of small boats, hundreds of them, neatly arranged in the square. There were thousands of disciples from more than a dozen lower sects participating in the trial, densely gathered here, and the scene was spectacular. At this time, the disciples of Jiu Iao Demon Palace also came. More than a dozen disciples from the lower sects were all nervous. In the past few days, they have witnessed the cruelty of the disciples of Jiu Iao Demon Palace, and hundreds of people were injured by them. Every disciple of the lower sect was secretly praying that they must not meet these guys in the demon abyss. These disciples of the lower sect never dreamed that they had become prey. There are also 2,000 disciples from the upper sect who participated in this trial, all of whom are disciples from the inner sect of the 9 Nether Demon Palace. The tens of thousands of inner sect disciples of the 9 Nether Demon Palace all take turns to come to the 10,000 miles demon abyss for trials. Although the death rate of each trial is high, the shortage of disciples in the inner sect will be immediately supplemented from the outer sect. The cruelty of the competition environment in the 9 Nether Demon Palace can be seen. Even so, the 9 Nether Demon Palace has persisted and has been adhering to such rules for thousands of years. After countless bloody storms and tempering themselves in the 10,000 miles demon abyss, the disciples of the 9 Nether Demon Palace are extremely powerful. Even the children of the major families in the sect have to enter the dangerous 10,000 miles demon abyss to participate in the trial and experience the test of life and death. This is not the Yinluo sect, where you can call the shots in the sect with your family background. If you don't have strength, even if you are a child of the Yuanying family, no one will pay attention to you. Maybe no one dares to touch you in the sect, but if you go to the 10,000 miles demon abyss, it's hard to say. The disciples of the 9 Nether Demon Palace are cruel and violent. No matter what family you belong to, they will not show mercy when they kill you. Therefore, in the fiercely competitive 9 Nether Demon Palace, if you want to become the leader of each group, you must have a lot of skills. Moreover, according to the tradition of the 9 Nether Demon Palace, disciples who died in the 10,000 miles demon abyss, even if they are family members of the sect, cannot use the power of the family to retaliate. Even if you make enemies in the trial, only cultivators of the same level can solve it. Foundation building and golden elixir are strictly prohibited. Of course, rules are rules. As for how to do it secretly, as long as you don't catch the handle, it is not considered a violation of the rules. If you don't want people to know, you must do it. The major families of the 9 Nether Demon Palace did not dare to go too far. Once they were caught, the whole family would pay a heavy price. But these rules have nothing to do with Su Fan and other lower sect disciples. Su Fan glanced at the upper sect disciples in the distance, and his eyes suddenly condensed. He clearly felt a strong murderous aura from these disciples of the 9 Nether Demon Palace. Moreover, when these people looked at these lower sect disciples, their eyes were full of greed. Not only did he feel something was wrong, but the Yinluo sect disciples around him also felt it. At this time, the senior sister walked to his side, and her eyes could not hide her worry. Su Fan nodded slightly to the senior sister, and curved the corners of his mouth to her calmly, which made the senior sister's face look better. It's no wonder that she was worried. During the trial, the foundation building elders of each lower sect were not allowed to follow, and could only stay in Yinshan Pass to wait. The life and death of the disciples who entered the demon abyss for the trial depended on themselves. At this time, more than a dozen elders from the upper sect came to the square and began to organize the trial disciples to draw lots. During the trial, all the disciples would be disrupted and divided into several teams, and sent to different areas of the 10,000-mile demon abyss. Su Fan drew a jade card and boarded a bone boat according to the number on it. At this time, dozens of people had come to the bone boat. From the logo on the robe, they were all disciples from various lower sects. The bone boat was not big, only about 10 feet long. The cabin was closed, and it was quite spacious for dozens of people to squeeze in. Su Fan found a place at the innermost part, leaned against the cabin wall and waited patiently. At this time, more than a dozen disciples from the upper sect walked into the bone boat. They pushed and cursed as soon as they came in, and drove dozens of disciples from the lower sect into the bone boat. More than a dozen people almost occupied half of the cabin. Perhaps it was because they had seen the fierceness of the upper sect disciples in the past few days. Although the lower sect disciples were unwilling, none of them dared to resist. They were afraid that they would be targeted by them again after entering the demon abyss. Su Fan, who had been staying quite comfortably, was almost suffocated by the crowd. He took a deep breath, and there was a lot of anger in his heart that he had nowhere to vent. Go ahead, but when you get to the demon abyss, it's better not to fall into his hands. Su Fan glanced at the upper sect disciples at the other end of the cabin and was stunned. He saw a skinny black-robed monk, who was the upper sect disciple who provoked him on the street that day. What a coincidence, I met him again. If you dare to pick a fight with him again this time, I will kill you. At this time, a voice came into the cabin of the bone boat, as if someone was talking in their ears. This trial requires going deep into the 100,000-mile demon abyss. The trial rules of our 9 Nether Demon Palace are that there are no rules. As long as you can survive, you will complete the trial mission this time. As soon as the voice fell, the bone boat shook heavily, and then slowly flew up. The bone boat flew in the air for a few days. Because the bone boat was closed, you couldn't see the scenery outside at all, so this journey was very boring. At this time, the speed of the bone boat began to slow down, and finally hovered in the air. Su Fan glanced at the other end of the cabin and found that more than a dozen disciples of the upper sect were all looking at them with a playful expression. Not good. Although he didn't know what these guys meant, he could tell at a glance that they were not holding back anything good. Su Fan suddenly became nervous, and his whole body collapsed, in a state of alert before the battle. Boom! With a loud noise, the floor of the bone boat cabin opened to both sides without any warning. Su Fan felt his feet were empty and he fell down with a whoosh. The disciples of the lower sect were all screaming loudly, and they were in a mess. Fortunately, he had been alert just now. Although the fall was very sudden, Su Fan quickly adjusted his posture so that he would not be so embarrassed. Su Fan finally saw the surrounding environment clearly. There was a thin layer of fog everywhere, and the visibility was only a dozen meters. The air was filled with a choking smell, and there was no trace of spiritual energy at all. He took out the Yinfeng bolt from the ring, stepped on it, and drove the magic weapon to the ground. Thanks to Cool's IABK, GG88K, the Wanchuan Bookworm, Zizi Power, Book Friend 202108191519099959, Zaya Oyo Jiang 2, Gaomi 1 Gaomi, Book Friend 201902180753404445, Book Friend 201705180608025519, Wu Kexin, Nushu Lanshin, Hongxi Baz, Book Friend 140,517,202,026,505, Book Friend 201901042137308005, Book Friend 202206112247300626, Zhonglian's Hishan, Shuni's Believer, and several book friends for their monthly tickets. Thank you for the encouragement and support of several big guys, and thank you YD Shyandeo Rewards Hard Work, Book Friend 202207070802555718, and Shunshi Needle, Pig Power, Book Friend 201912131256373393, Angry Water, Book Friend 201706220727490998, Hard Working Zhuan, A Little Distracting Thoughts, Rule 05, Akli, I Come from the Milky Way, Book Friend 200012041112213131, Versatile Little Momo, How Could X Say Without Clothes, Biliansha, Book Friend 201901042137308005, Jupiter 2, Yuban Jikian, Book Friend 2022063019690784, Book Friend 201904251158507444, Book Friend 201,908,071. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end 109. I am deeply grateful for the recommendation votes of all the big guys. Thank you all for your love and support. Chapter 146 First Battle. Su Fan drove the Yinfeng boat, controlling the speed as much as possible, and glided carefully to the ground. According to the Jade Slip of the Master, there are many ferocious flying monsters in the 100,000-mile demon abyss, so try not to fly with magic tools in the demon abyss. The flying monsters in the demon abyss are extremely powerful, and the key cultivating monks who drive magic tools in the air are no match for the monsters. At the same time, Su Fan's spiritual sense was completely released, and the scene of more than 100 feet around him was in full view. In fact, the bone boat was only a few hundred meters above the ground. After a while, Su Fan had already landed on the ground. For some reason, the trial disciples on the bone boat just now did not land nearby. There was no trace of the breath of monks within a radius of hundreds of meters. Su Fan put away the Yinfeng boat, then took out a second-level protective bone amulet, and crushed it with a snap. Bang! A colorful spiritual light shield enveloped his figure. He took out the evil ghost banner again, summoned a few evil ghosts, and asked them to guard the surroundings. Su Fan took off the robe of Yinluo sect, and then his bones made a crackling sound. His figure suddenly became more than a head shorter, and his face changed to a middle-aged face with paralyzed face. He took out a black top-grade robe from the ring and put it on again. When he looked at Su Fan again, he had become another person. Even familiar people could not recognize him. After doing all this, Su Fan was relieved and began to carefully look at the surrounding environment. This place is similar to the small secret realm of Yinluo sect, but the environment is worse. The gray sky, the lifeless black land, and the endless fog are everywhere. And the visibility is very low, only 40 or 50 meters. Everywhere is a dead gray color, and the muddy ground exudes a faint stench. There are pools of water of varying depths all around, which are also dead and quiet, and the water is turbid. The air is full of choking smells, without a trace of spiritual energy, and many places are still floating with foreign magic. Su Fan felt depressed when he thought that he would stay here for half a year. What can't he do with this half year? He took out the jade slip that his master gave him and put it on his forehead. After a while, Su Fan put away the jade slip and shook his head with a wry smile. Although the map of the demon abyss and the master's jade slip was recorded in great detail, there was no reference here at all. Even with the most detailed map, the specific location here could not be determined. Let's go forward, find a reference first, and then make plans. Su Fan randomly chose a direction, stepped on the muddy and rotten ground, and walked forward with 1 foot deep and 1 foot shallow. In addition to killing a few monsters that attacked him, he did not encounter any danger along the way. Suddenly, a fierce ghost arranged in the distance lost contact with him. Su Fan frowned immediately, and he waved his hand, throwing out a black shadow. The dead bone viper whip circled around him for a few times, then drilled into the muddy ground and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Swoosh! At the same time, Sister Zhen also rushed out of the Taiyin ghost order on her waist. She took out a ball of black gauze from somewhere and put it on her body. The ghost disappeared instantly. Su Fan walked a few steps to a dead forest next to him and stood under a shadow. He chanted a spell, pinched his fingers one after another, and launched the hidden breath technique and 9 nether demon shadow one after another. Su Fan's figure was instantly hidden in the shadow. Not only did his breath become extremely faint, but with the cover of the fog, even his figure became vague. After a while, another evil ghost who was deployed in the distance also lost contact with Su Fan. But Su Fan stood in the shadow calmly as if nothing had happened, waiting patiently. At this time, a black-robed monk slowly walked out of the fog in the distance. He was at the 8th level of key training and wore the robe of the 9 nether demon palace. He wore a black hat and was thin. Several black auras surrounded him like little snakes. Walking to a place nearly 100 meters away from Su Fan, the black-robed monk stopped. Although he could not feel Su Fan's breath, the countless experiences of touching life and death made him more sensitive than he could imagine to unknown dangers. His intuition told him that there was a person hiding here. The black-robed monk sneered, "No matter how well you hide, it's your bad luck to meet me today." He took out a small black jar from his ring, and then opened the lid. Wisps of black smoke flowed out of the small jar like water. The black smoke slowly flowed in the air, and then gradually condensed together, turning into dark mist and spreading around. The black mist spread faster and faster, and wherever it passed, even the dark and muddy land was corroded and turned into dry ashes. Su Fan sighed. The disciples of the 9 nether demon palace were indeed extraordinary. If this was in the Yinluo sect, no one would have discovered that he was hiding here, and they might have come here long ago. Although the other party did not find his hiding place, he sensitively felt the danger with his amazing intuition. At first glance, he was a ruthless man who had experienced hundreds of battles. He had crawled out of the pile of dead bodies countless times. Su Fan couldn't help but smile bitterly. It seemed that he had to change his tactics in the future. The disciples of Jiu Iao Demon Palace were not comparable to the disciples of Yinluo sect. They were not only experienced in fighting, but also extremely powerful. Such a wretched tactic was a joke in front of the experienced disciples of Shangzhuang. Thinking of this, Su Fan's thoughts moved. More than 10 meters away from him, the dead bones viper whip hidden underground moved slightly. Just this slight movement made the monks on the opposite side feel it. "I caught you," he waved his hand fiercely, and the black smoke that was spreading rapidly around him condensed together in an instant. It turned into a pitch-black giant python, roaring and rushing towards the hiding place of the dead bones viper whip. The black-robed monk also jumped up and followed closely behind the black giant python. His hands were covered with the gray mist, and the black mist swirling around him flew past like sharp arrows. Ring, ring, Suddenly, a bell sounded in the black-robed monk's ears. His eyes went dark, and his head buzzed as if it was hit by a huge hammer. Not good, an earring on his left ear shattered with a snap. Not only did it dispel the strange bell sound, but it also instantly restored his clarity. The black-robed monk secretly cried out that it was not good, and hurriedly tried to crush a second-level protective Jade talisman. But before he could breathe a sigh of relief, a figure had appeared in front of him and hit him hard. Bang! Although the protective Jade talisman held up a layer of spiritual energy shield to block the opponent's impact, he was still knocked away. Chapter 147 I'll take this. Physical cultivator. The black-robed monk knew that he was careless and had been tricked by this guy. He had already lost the initiative. He didn't expect that this old bastard was actually a physical cultivator. Aren't physical cultivators all barbarians? Why is their fighting style so vulgar? Of course, he also knew the consequences of being approached by a physical cultivator, so he reacted immediately. The black-robed monk endured the dizziness caused by the collision and waved his hands one after another. The black python and black smoke in the distance rushed towards Su Fan with a roar. Su Fan thought, and the dead bones viper whip hidden underground instantly jumped out of the ground and entangled the black python transformed by the magic smoke. He also sacrificed the 9-yin mysterious turtle shield and floated in front of him, blocking the magic smoke like sharp arrows. These actions were completed in the blink of an eye, and Su Fan didn't delay anything at all. Before he waited for the other party to land, he had already followed him like a shadow. Seeing that both attacking magic weapons were easily resolved by Su Fan, the black-robed monk also became anxious. Just when he wanted to use another protective magic weapon, unfortunately, he had no chance, because Su Fan had already made a move. Dilang Jin, Su Fan's right hand turned into a bird's beak, and he tapped the spiritual shield on the black-robed monk. Buzz! The spiritual shield was like a boiling pot, with waves of violent ripples, and even the black-robed monk inside the shield began to shake violently. Ancient physical secret method. Seeing Su Fan's move, the black-robed monk knew that he was finished. Legend has it that more than 100 years ago, there was a physical cultivator from the lower sect in the sect who used this move. Anyone who got close to him could not escape his murderous hands. Bone-cutting hand. Su Fan's right hand changed again, and his fingers seemed to flick lightly. A trace of sinister and treacherous force instantly spread to the black-robed monk with a Dilang Jin. Crack! Crack! The bones of the black-robed monk were broken, and he collapsed to the ground like a pile of mud. Su Fan breathed a sigh of relief and flicked his finger again. The opponent's neck tilted and he died instantly. Whoosh! Sister Zhen appeared behind Su Fan, circling around him with a face full of joy, as if to praise him. Su Fan ignored her and hurried to clean up the battlefield. The disciples of the upper sect were all nearby, so he didn't have time to mess with her. He walked to the side of the black-robed monk and squatted down. He pulled the other's head aside with his hand and saw that he had an earring on his right ear. It was as expected. Sister Zhen had successfully attacked him with a soul-breaking bell just now, but it was easily resolved by the earring magic weapon in his left ear. This is a magic weapon for protecting the soul. Su Fan had only heard of it before, but the cultivation resources in Liangzhou were too poor, and there was no such magic weapon on the market. Unexpectedly, he saw it on a disciple of the upper sect, and it was a pair. Originally, Su Fan designed a tactic to rush over and give him a shocking soul stab, but later he found that the other party actually had a magic weapon to protect the soul. So he immediately changed his tactics, quickly fighting close to him, and using the secret technique of the body to solve the opponent. This is a good thing. Su Fan took off the earring and put it into his ring. Apart from anything else, this earring alone, if taken back to Liangzhou and put at the auction, can easily be hyped up to a sky-high price. Of course, Su Fan would definitely not be willing to sell such a good thing. He picked up the black little jar from the ground again. At this time, the thick magic smoke had already shrunk back into the jar. This disciple of the upper sect mainly practices the magic smoke, and the Yinluo sect does not have the inheritance of this kind of Taoism. In fact, even if there is, the disciples of the Yinluo sect cannot practice it. Because this kind of Taoism can only be successfully cultivated by using the endless foreign magic energy in the 100,000-mile demon abyss. Su Fan didn't have time to think about this thing, so he put it into his ring. Just as he was about to take off the ring on the other person's hand, his eyes suddenly condensed, and his consciousness instantly spread to the distance. Someone is coming. And the other party has already discovered him. Even if he wants to leave at this time, it's too late. Su Fan quickly took off the other person's ring, then stood up and turned to look into the distance. A person slowly walked out of the mist. I didn't expect that a scumbag from the lower sect could actually kill our disciples. What Su Fan didn't expect was that this person was the upper sect cultivator who provoked him at Yinshan Pass. Including this time, the two had met for the third time. Fate is really wonderful. Just like when he first met him, the other party was still playing with a small black seal in his right hand. Su Fan thought for a while and bowed to the other party. Brother, you and I are from the same sect, why do we have to kill each other? This ring is a gift to you, please let me go. The reason why he said this was actually to test the other party. Because from the time he boarded the boat, Su Fan felt something was wrong. The murderous aura exuding from the upper sect disciples was too strong, and the eyes they looked at them were too greedy. And the upper sect disciple just now was actually running towards him on purpose, which was a bit weird. Su Fan's judgment must have been wrong. It is normal for the disciples of the Nine Nether Demon Palace to kill the lower sect disciples when they meet them, no matter how cruel they are. They won't chase them to kill them, right? How big a grudge must they have? As expected, the upper sect disciples on the opposite side looked at him like a fool after hearing Su Fan's words. Haha. You, a scumbag from the lower sect, still want to be my fellow disciple, you are not worthy. When he said this, he smiled grimly again. Anyway, you will die soon. I won't hide it from you. Someone is willing to pay a high price for your identity jade card. Go to hell. After he said that, he threw the small seal in his right hand lightly. Boom. The small seal gradually grew bigger in the wind, and instantly turned into a size of several feet. The endless black magic smoke enveloped the surrounding area dozens of feet. The domain of magic weapon, Su Fan was amazed. No wonder the master asked him to participate in the trial. It really broadened his horizons. He finally saw this legendary magic weapon. Boy, you've entered my domain. It's too late for you to run now, haha. Su Fan raised his head and looked greedily at the black seal floating in the air, his eyes red. This is a domain-type magic weapon. I'm not going to run, I'm going to take this thing. The disciple of the upper sect opposite flicked his finger hidden in his robe sleeve, and a black line instantly drilled into the ground. If you commit suicide now, I promise to leave you a whole body. The black-robed monk said another sentence, and the black line he released had already followed the ground and came to Su Fan's feet. Su Fan only felt his feet numb, and his whole body seemed to be frozen, paralyzed in an instant. Poison, he shook his body a few times and sat on the ground all of a sudden. Su Fan finally understood what was going on. This guy was a domain-type magic weapon, and he kept talking for a long time, just to cover up his poisoning. This guy is the same as himself. Both of them are old and nasty. Chapter 148 Who gave you the courage? The black-robed monk laughed and walked to Su Fan's side. You won't die immediately after being poisoned by my black evil heart-eroding poison. Your bones will slowly melt and turn into a pool of meat paste in a while. Haha. After hearing what the other party said, Su Fan laughed. I am a physical cultivator, did you know that? The other party laughed and said, of course I know you are a physical cultivator, but you have been poisoned by my unique poison, so you'd better wait for death obediently. Su Fan was amused by him and said, who gave you the courage to get so close to a physical cultivator? The black-robed monk laughed wildly and almost cried. Haha. You are about to die, and you still, at this point, he suddenly widened his eyes and stared blankly at Su Fan who had already stood up from the ground. You, he pointed at Su Fan with his finger, and his right hand hidden in his robe sleeve flicked again. Another black line came to Su Fan's feet along the ground. Who would have thought that Su Fan on the opposite side was fine? Before the strange poison penetrated into Su Fan's feet, it was burned into ashes by the positive pole in the Dao seed. Su Fan didn't want to waste time with him. His eyes were fixed, and the black-robed monk on the opposite side felt his eyes go black and fell to the ground. He originally wanted to fight a hard battle with the other party, but who would have thought that he would be defeated so easily? If it were someone else, he would really be tricked by this guy. The cultivators of the poison Dao and other Dao veins are the most difficult to deal with. Most people have to be careful when they meet them. Unfortunately, he met Su Fan. The Thunder Dao body and the Pure Yang Dharma body, any one of them, are the nemesis of evil spirits and strange poisonous miasma. Su Fan has both, So it's bad luck to meet him. Maybe because you tricked many people, this guy is a little bit arrogant, so Su Fan can easily succeed. Su Fan picked him up from where he was, his eyes flashed with lightning, and the other party's eyes gradually blurred. Next, he asked this disciple from the upper sect for a lot of useful information. The most shocking news to Su Fan was that several family members, in order to win the prize, treated thousands of lower sect disciples as prey. This was a bit too much. This was not treating the lower sect's trial disciples as human beings. Su Fan took a deep breath, stretched out his hand to break the other's neck, and then put all the other's things into the ring. It's better to leave quickly. The identity jade cards of all the lower sect disciples were actually bought at a high price. The trial disciples of the Nine Nether Demon Palace were crazy and were hunting down the lower sect disciples everywhere. If they were really surrounded, it would be very troublesome. Su Fan summoned the Deadbone Viper Whip and devoured the souls of 2 lower sect disciples, and then burned the 2 bodies to ashes. At this moment, in a cave hundreds of miles away, Zhou Cheng sat cross-legged on the ground, surrounded by more than a dozen trial disciples of the Nine Nether Demon Palace. "Brother Zhou Cheng, we just lost 2 people." Zhou Cheng frowned and asked in a deep voice, "Which 2? In which direction?" "It was Brother Yu and Brother Guo, near the Black Mist Swamp." The time they died was less than 2/4 of an hour apart. After hearing what his men said, Zhou Cheng thought for a moment and continued to ask, "Are there still our people there?" "Brother Tong and Brother Fang are nearby," Zhou Cheng said with a gloomy face. "Brother Yu and Brother Guo's positioning beads are still there." "They are still there. Let Brother Tong and Brother Fang go over and see what's going on." After the men left, someone came over. "Brother Zhou, is it He Bin's people who did it?" Zhou Cheng smiled coldly and said, "Who else could it be except him?" After Su Fan cleaned up the battlefield, he quickly left there and found a seemingly safe place. He set up the 6 yin stealth formation and summoned a few evil ghosts from the evil ghost banner to keep watch around. Then he set up a tent in the formation and had a simple meal. After tossing for most of the day, Su Fan was already hungry. He ate more than a dozen pieces of barbecued naan to fill his stomach. After finishing the meal, Su Fan sat cross-legged on the futon, then took out a storage ring and poured out the contents. Although there were not many things in the storage ring, he was a disciple of the upper sect after all, so any one of them was a fine product. This was the storage ring of the disciple of the upper sect, who mainly practiced a magic smoke path. There were not many spirit stones in it, only more than 30 medium-grade spirit stones and 2 high-grade spirit stones. Sect disciples prefer to use good deeds, so they usually don't carry many spirit stones. There were dozens of bottles of elixirs, including 15 bottles of Zuanayu pills taken in the late stage of key training. This was the unique elixir of the Nine Nether Demon Palace, which was specially taken by disciples in the sect. Su Fan was going to find an opportunity to try it out. He didn't know how it would work compared to the purple ginseng pill. The rest were auxiliary elixirs, and they were also the internal elixirs of the Nine Nether Demon Palace that were not sold to the public. The quality was quite good. There are hundreds of auxiliary talismans, dozens of magic talismans, and 10 second-level protective J talismans, all of which are of very good quality. The second-level protective J talismans are all life-saving things, and Su Fan never thinks too much. There are quite a few magic tools, but unfortunately, except for the small jar and the earrings for protecting the soul, the other magic tools are exclusively for the disciples of the Demon Smoke Dao, and Su Fan can't use them at all. Needless to say, the earrings for protecting the soul have long been put into the ring that Su Fan has long ago. He picked up the small jar and looked at it carefully. This is a top-grade magic tool, called B-Phosphorus Magic Smoke Jar. It is relatively simple to control, but the power is not small. Magic smoke can corrode magic tools and spiritual shields. It can be dispersed for large-scale attacks, or it can be condensed into a black giant python, which increases its power several times. Su Fan plans to keep it as a backup. After all, this trial will definitely involve fighting, and the more top-grade magic tools, the better. There are more than a dozen books and several magic jade slips. Su Fan took a simple look at them. Most of them are skills, spells, and secrets related to the Demon Smoke Dao. Although Su Fan could not use them, these skills, spells, and secret techniques passed down by the legitimate sects could be sold for a good price. There were also some precious refining materials and more than a dozen spiritual herbs, all packed in jade boxes. Since becoming a refiner, he has a better understanding of refining materials. These materials are all good. They may have been specially collected by the other party in order to refine a magic weapon. It's a pity that they are all cheap for Su Fan. Su Fan was not in the mood to look at the other miscellaneous things, so he simply put them away. At this time, he found a white bead, which was shining faintly. Su Fan frowned immediately. He seemed to have seen this kind of bead in a book he saw in the Sex Dharma Hall, but he forgot what it was used for. Suddenly, he remembered that this was a positioning bead. Su Fan quickly opened another storage ring and found the same bead, which was also shining slightly. Su Fan didn't think about it, and quickly put the things into the storage ring, then packed up the tent in the formation and was about to leave. At this time, 2 monks from the upper sect arrived and rushed over to kill Su Fan when they saw him. Boy, stop right there. Chapter 149 Why don't you run away? Su Fan quickly took out a Yin Fen boat and drove the magic weapon to escape far away. The 2 upper sect disciples were both at the 8th level of key training, and they were driving top-grade flying magic weapons. One was wrapped in a ball of black smoke, and the other was stepping on the Bone Eagle magic weapon, which was obviously much faster than the Yin Fen boat. Although Su Fan used the speed of the Yin Fen boat to the extreme, he was still caught up by the 2 upper sect disciples. They urged the magic weapon to attack from behind, and Su Fan kept dodging, looking very embarrassed. Seeing that Su Fan was a lower sect disciple and was only at the 7th level of key training, the 2 did not take it too seriously, and both wanted to capture him alive. Su Fan looked lost, driving the Yin Fen boat to flee in a hurry, and dodging the attacks of the magic weapon in a panic. Haha, kid, surrender quickly, or you will live a life worse than death. The upper sect disciple driving the Bone Eagle laughed and threatened Su Fan, took out a bone whip from the ring, and threw it out fiercely. The bone whip, which was more than 10 meters long, circled and whipped towards Su Fan. Although he dodged the whip in panic, Yin Feng Zhou lost control and fell headfirst from the air. Bang! Su Fan fell heavily to the ground, struggled to get up and stumbled forward, but was tripped again after a few steps. The 2 upper sect disciples also fell to the ground. Looking at the embarrassed Su Fan, they all laughed loudly. Haha, why don't you run away? Su Fan sat on the ground, looking at the 2 people with horror on his face, and bowed to them. 2 senior brothers, we are all from the same sect, why do we have to force each other? The upper sect disciple, who was covered with thick black smoke, looked at Su Fan coldly. A scum from the lower sect, you are worthy of being our fellow disciple. After he finished speaking, he chuckled and said, but as long as you surrender, we will let you die quickly. The thin upper sect disciple next to him was obviously a little impatient. Brother Tong, why waste time talking to him? Just kill him and search his soul. Brother Tong chuckled and said, Brother Fang, why are you so anxious? I want to have a good time with him. This kid, before he could finish, Su Fan on the opposite side suddenly swung his hand, and a pale bone spear stabbed directly at Brother Fang next to him. Boy, you are looking for death. Su Fan's attack caught Brother Fang off guard. Although he was furious, he did not dare to neglect the top-grade attack magic weapon. He quickly crushed a second-level protective J talisman and condensed a bone shield to block himself. Bang! The bone spear pierced the bone shield fiercely, making a harsh sound. Before Brother Fang could breathe a sigh of relief, his eyes suddenly condensed, and without thinking, he sacrificed the protective magic weapon, a pale skull, blocking his side. Fortunately, he had been through many battles and was extremely sensitive to danger, which allowed him to escape the disaster and block a silent flying needle with his skull. This kid was too insidious. He was not reassured, so he smashed a protective bone amulet on his chest, and a spiritual shield enveloped him. At the moment when the spiritual shield was propped up, a black shadow suddenly jumped out from the ground. The dead bone viper whip opened its ferocious mouth and bit the shield fiercely, causing waves of spiritual ripples. Hiss. Then, there was another shrill hissing, and Junior Brother Fang's eyes went black. His head buzzed and fell into obsession. Snap. The magic necklace hanging on Junior Brother Fang's chest that protected his soul was shattered, which instantly restored his clarity. Junior Brother Fang was sweating coldly. If he hadn't wandered between life and death countless times, he might have died twice. What kind of background does this kid have? He can actually control 3 magic weapons at the same time, and they are all top-grade magic weapons. Su Fan sighed, and when he fell to the ground, he took advantage of the situation to sacrifice the invisible needle and dead bone viper whip. One was hidden underground, and the other was hidden in the air. Unexpectedly, he didn't succeed in doing so. The people of the Nine Nether Demon Palace are indeed experienced in battles. They are not only experienced in fighting, but also extremely powerful in combat. Because senior brother Tong is in the Ghost Dao and junior brother Fang is in the White Bone Dao, Su Fan's tactic is to first do something to junior brother Fang, and then get close to senior brother Tong. Su Fan's wave of attacks was completed in an instant. Although junior brother Fang blocked the attacks of the three top-grade magic weapons, he was also in a panic and was entangled tightly. Su Fan's lightning-fast attacks caught senior brother Tong off guard. He waved his hand quickly, and the black smoke surrounding him condensed together in a whoosh and turned into a huge ghost face, roaring and rushing towards Su Fan. Su Fan suddenly jumped up from the ground, pulled out a big sword wrapped in hot electric light, and split the ferocious ghost head in half with one sword. Not good. Seeing the electric light on Su Fan's big sword, senior brother Tong secretly cried out that it was not good. The thunder of heaven and earth is specifically used to defeat ghost cultivators. The electric light on this kid's sword is not simple at all. If you are not careful today, you may fall into the hands of this little bastard. Thinking of this, senior brother Tong did not dare to be careless at all. He moved his hands and successively sacrificed 2 protective magic tools, and crushed a second-level protective Jade Talisman. As soon as the spiritual light shield of the protective Jade Talisman was propped up, Su Fan appeared in front of him. Reverse wind slash, the Tao seed in the body rotated loudly, and the big sword flashing with thunder and lightning fell down with a bang. The whole space seemed to be cut in half by the big sword, and it was slashed on a bone shield wrapped in a strong ghost spirit. The quality of the thunder in the Tao seed is no longer the same as before. The original light purple thunder is almost purple-black. The bone shield wrapped in rich ghost energy was instantly chopped off by the big sword. Su Fan's feet flashed with lightning, bypassed another magic weapon, and appeared behind brother Tong, and the big sword slashed down. Bang! The big sword wrapped in thunder and lightning slashed fiercely on the aura shield. The big sword weighed hundreds of pounds, plus Su Fan's monster-like physical strength. Although the aura shield blocked the sharpness of the big sword, he was also chopped up. Brother Tong flew more than 10 meters away, fell heavily to the ground, and spit out a mouthful of blood. He endured a dizziness and severe pain and played all the trump cards in his hand. 4 second-level attack Jade Talismans turned into attack magic weapons and whistled towards Su Fan, but they were all blocked by the second-level protective Jade Talismans that he crushed one after another. Dozens of sinister ghost soldiers surrounded him with murderous intent. Red Lotus purifies the world. A blazing light spread out in the surroundings, and dozens of ghost soldiers were instantly annihilated. Brother Fang, who was standing next to him, was also very worried when he saw brother Tong was at a disadvantage. Although he was forced to take care of himself by the 3 top-grade magic weapons, he still took the opportunity to summon a white skeleton and rushed over with a roar. Su Fan swung the sword in his hand and smashed the white skeleton to pieces, leaving a pile of bones on the ground. The average subscription is 175, the results are average, but Lao Bu is already very satisfied. Thank you all for your support. Lao Bu kneels to thank you. Thanks to Bookfriend 201805152031157762, Bookfriend 202010221541051818. See you at the hardcore level. A dream is over. Bookfriend 202222222305436999, Suzuko of the Underworld, Middle 2 Man Li Yuanming, Bookfriend 202206112247306626, Nightmare, Bookfriend 2020101220258651, Bookfriend 202206041317133091, Demonic Phase, and several book friends for their monthly tickets. Thank you for the encouragement and support of several big guys. Thanks to Bookfriend 201811223201221513, Bookfriend 20201 101,220,258,651, 2 big guys, for their generous support. Thanks to Bookfriend 2022222305436999, and Clockwise, a little bit of miscellaneous thoughts, bits and pieces of the world, Bookfriend 202003081815543996, Bookfriend 201912131256373993, The 100 millionth sheep, book friend 161,128,222,045,156, our world is false, Ackley, Shock, Pig Power, Unoe, 20170729210222949, and all the big guys for their recommendation votes. Laubu is deeply grateful. Thank you all for your love and support. Chapter 150, a quick decision is necessary. Seeing Su Fan approaching, Senior Brother Tong made up his mind and activated a talisman, but he didn't expect that the opponent also used a talisman to block his attack. When he wanted to activate the talisman again, Su Fan's feet flashed with lightning, and he was in front of Senior Brother Tong in an instant. Whirlpool power, Su Fan stretched out his hand and gently patted the spiritual shield. The whole shield was driven by a strange force and shook violently. Senior Brother Tong was also shaken by the sudden shaking, and the talisman in his hand fell to the ground. Bone-cutting hand. Then, another strange force was transmitted to Senior Brother Tong along with a force. Crack! Crack! His bones began to break one by one, and he fell to the ground like a puddle of mud. After dealing with Senior Brother Tong, Su Fan turned around and walked towards Junior Brother Feng next to him. The opponent used all his tricks and just got rid of the embarrassing situation, but found that Senior Brother Tong had been killed by the opponent. But Junior Brother Feng was not panicked. He had experienced such crises countless times. The disciples of the Nine Nether Demon Palace had been fighting in the 10,000-mile demon abyss for many years, and had long disregarded life and death. He knew very well that although he was only at the 7th level of key training, this kid was definitely not simple. He was so busy controlling 3 top-grade magic tools while fighting that he had no time to take care of other things. This kid's soul was so powerful that even a soul that had reached the great perfection of key training might not be as strong as him. Moreover, this kid was also good at physical cultivation. The method he used to kill Senior Brother Tong just now was obviously an ancient physical cultivation secret method. This old bastard's methods were definitely not limited to this. Thinking of this, Junior Brother Feng gently patted the wooden box on his waist. Boom! A nearly 2 zang tall evil demon skeleton appeared in front of Su Fan. It had 2 horns on its head, and its whole body was covered with pitch-black hard armor. There were hideous bone spurs on its back, and 2 mantis-like forelimbs, like a pair of huge sickles. Oh my god! Su Fan actually recognized this evil demon skeleton. It was the projection of the knife demon he saw in the demon tomb. The disciples of the upper sex White Bone Dao were really awesome. They actually refined the skeleton of an evil demon. This was much stronger than those demon beasts and monsters. If you hadn't learned the master's secret technique bone-cutting hand, it would be really troublesome to face such a white bone evil demon. But now, I must tear you apart and break your bones into pieces. Skeletons are just skeletons. How can they be compared with real evil demons? Su Fan continued to control the 3 top-grade magic weapons to besiege Junior Brother Feng, leaving him no time to take care of other things. He didn't pick up the big sword, and walked towards the skeleton evil demon with bare hands. Junior Brother Feng resisted the attacks of the 3 top-grade magic weapons while controlling the knife demon skeleton to rush towards Su Fan. He even managed to free his hands and control the bone spear to stab Su Fan. Su Fan waved his hand and slapped the bone spear that was rushing towards him. Then, with a flash of lightning under his feet, his figure instantly came behind the knife demon skeleton. With a leap, he had already climbed onto the knife demon skeleton. Bone-cutting hand, he grabbed a bone spur on the back of the knife demon skeleton with his left hand and slapped it on the back of its head with his right hand. Bang! A sinister and treacherous force instantly penetrated from the surface of the bone. The huge head of the knife demon skeleton cracked with a click. Ouch! The knife demon skeleton roared and shook its head continuously, causing Su Fan to sway continuously. He tried his best to stabilize his body, and kept waving his hands to perform the bone-cutting hand, slapping the head of the knife demon skeleton again and again. Click! Finally, the huge head of the knife demon skeleton was smashed by Su Fan. Explosive force, he reached his hand into the skull of the knife demon skeleton and used the ancient Taoist secret technique. The huge and ferocious skull suddenly exploded. The 2-meter-high knife demon skeleton collapsed, and the pale bones were scattered all over the ground. Junior Brother Feng was horrified. The knife demon skeleton that he had carefully refined for many years was broken up by the opponent so quickly. This is his biggest trump card, and it has always been successful. Su Fan stretched out his hand and summoned the big sword that fell in the distance. He walked towards Junior Brother Fang with his sword. Junior Brother Fang was determined and reached out to hit the wooden box on his waist several times. More than a dozen skeletons were summoned by him, including monsters, demons and human skeletons, in various shapes. Under the control of Junior Brother Fang, they roared and pounced on Su Fan. Su Fan sneered, waved the big sword wrapped in the scorching yangshan in his hand, and chopped the skeletons into bone slag on the ground. Seeing the other party approaching him step by step, Junior Brother Fang knew that he had no more cards to play, and it seemed that he was doomed today. Junior Brother Fang smiled grimly. Even if I die, I will take you, the old cunt, with me. Su Fan's eyes narrowed, because the other party showed a strange smile on his face. His scalp numbed, and he inexplicably realized a sense of crisis. Oh no, this guy is going to use a shady trick. At this time, a quick battle must be resolved. Su Fan's eyes flashed with a flash of lightning, and he sacrificed the 9-yin mysterious turtle shield to block himself, and crushed a second-level protective J talisman. Junior Brother Fang's eyes went dark. He secretly said that it was not good, and used his remaining consciousness to perform the last secret technique. Boom! Junior Brother Fang's body suddenly exploded, and his bones turned into countless fragments, bursting in all directions. In the violent explosion, although the 9-yin mysterious turtle shield in front of Su Fan helped him block most of the bone fragments, it was also directly blown away. The ore shield supported by the second-level protective J talisman also exploded instantly. The ore shield of Su Fan's robe was also automatically activated, which helped him block the flying bone fragments. But he was also blown away, and felt that he was blown away by a huge force for more than 10 meters, and fell heavily to the ground. This disciple of the upper sect has such a violent temper. Knowing that Su Fan would not let him go, he resolutely launched the self-destruction secret technique of the White Bone Dao, trying to die with him. He used his spiritual sense to scan the surroundings and summoned back the 3 top-grade magic weapons. Fortunately, the magic weapons did not suffer any substantial damage. But they all lost their spirituality and needed to be nurtured for a period of time. They are useless in the near future. By the way, I don't know if the other party's storage ring is still there. Su Fan thought about it, and with a whoosh, he saw Sister Zhen jump out of the Taiyuan Ghost Order on his waist. After receiving Su Fan's thoughts, they began to fly around. After a while, Sister Zhen excitedly held a ring in her hand and floated in front of Su Fan, with an expression of showing off. Well done. Su Fan sent a thought to Sister Zhen, took the ring, and looked at it carefully. The ring was not damaged, which also made him feel relieved. Su Fan asked Sister Zhen to be on guard around, and he quickly cleaned up the battlefield, collected the souls and destroyed the bodies, and then left in a hurry. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.